A boy sat quietly, petting his cat, reflecting on the emptiness of his old life. Now awakened to a new world, he discovered a future filled with hope and possibility. Gifted with a mysterious trade skill, he could summon anything from his former world. A fierce beast charged at him, but fear didn't hold him back. Elsewhere, a warrior sensed the shift as something unknown entered their world. After losing his parents, the boy had been raised by his grandfather, who had now passed away as well. Days drifted by in a fog of grief, with time slipping past unnoticed. Rejection from job applications deepened his despair, and his isolation grew heavier. Voices of judgment and doubt haunted him, echoing his failures and insecurities. Only his loyal cat remained by his side, offering quiet comfort in the silence. The boy decided to stop dwelling on regret and return to job hunting, finding brief comfort in his cat's presence. While sorting through old belongings, he discovered a small box containing forgotten rings. One ring fit his finger perfectly, but his cat suddenly snatched it away. In an instant, the world around him shifted, and unfamiliar scenery replaced his room. Wide mountains and open land stretched before him, confirming he was no longer in his old world. The boy held his cat tightly, confused and shaken by the sudden change of scenery. Piecing it together, he recalled the ring and realized it must have caused the shift. He searched frantically, fearing he had lost the ring somewhere on the ground or worse. To the cat, doubt filled him, as he questioned whether the ring's disappearance was connected to the strange event. Looking at the vast sky, he began to accept the impossible. He had been transported to another world. He stood frozen, overwhelmed by the reality of being stranded in an unknown land. Desperately, he tried to activate a special ability, hoping for a miracle. Nothing happened, and he sank into hopelessness while his cat floated nearby. Suddenly, the cat soared into the air, revealing unexpected powers. Realizing the cat might hold the key to survival, he regained a sense of determination. A glowing screen appeared, revealing what seemed like the cat's status window. But a sudden realization struck him. It wasn't the cat's screen at all. It was his own, showing two unique skills, trader and appraisal. Testing his new skill, he focused on the cat and activated appraisal. The results confirmed that Nike possessed powerful elemental magic far beyond his own. Accepting his situation, he decided to focus on strengthening his appraisal skill to survive. Deep in the forest, he practiced on a towering tree, uncovering useful data. Curious, he switched to the trader skill, hoping for more than basic information. A strange light surrounded him as the trader ability activated with force. Nike reacted defensively, startling him into apologizing for triggering it unexpectedly. He apologized to Nike, asking the cat to stay back as he tested his ability. With focused energy, he unleashed power that split a massive tree in half. As the dust cleared, he looked back with a grin, eager to demonstrate more. Once again, he directed power toward a new tree, drawing out another reaction. Though Nike remained annoyed, he pressed forward, ready to push the skill further. He placed the harvested tree into the item box and selected the trade option. The points accumulated, and he envisioned exactly what he needed. A pair of sneakers materialized in his hand, proving the system worked. Overwhelmed with excitement, he realized the trader skill was his breakthrough. With a clear plan and fresh shoes, he felt ready to survive and profit in this world. Energized by success, he intensified his efforts, destroying trees with precision and focus. He began collecting larger items, including towering trees and even a massive rock. Using his points, he summoned an electric chainsaw to test utility and space. As he turned to eat, Nike hissed sharply, signaling an approaching threat. Something heavy crashed to the ground, forcing both of them to react instantly. A massive black tiger emerged from the woods, radiating power and menace. Its size dwarfed any wild beast he'd seen, far more terrifying than any bear. Panicked, he tried to store it away, but the system rejected living creatures. Desperation set in as he searched for any tool that might help him fight. He steeled his nerves, planning a first strike before the beast could react. He recalled the trader skill's 100-meter range, useful for summoning and storing objects. With a new plan, he aimed at the ground beneath the charging beast. As the tiger lunged forward, the earth vanished, causing it to drop. In a flash, he summoned a shipping container filled with liquid nitrogen. The freezing trap locked the beast inside, its roar echoing as the temperature dropped. The ground sealed shut with a loud clang, and he peeked out cautiously, confirming success. Relieved, he proudly asked his companion for feedback, expecting praise. But the tiger reappeared, unfrozen and angrier, with a wolf emerging alongside it. He panicked, desperately trying to summon a weapon as Nike growled defensively. Suddenly, water bullets blasted the enemies. Nike had unleashed a powerful spirit magic attack. The tiger charged again, ignoring the wounds from the last attack. Frantic, He scanned his inventory for anything that could block its path. The monster closed in while he stood frozen, fists clenched in fear. Driven by desperation, he resolved to fight, knowing escape was no longer possible. As the tiger leapt, time seemed to slow, his mind clear and focused. A massive boulder smashed down, pinning the black tiger just before it could reach the boy. Panting, he confirmed the tiger was truly defeated and sealed its body to be safe. Hunger set in as he looked to the horizon, deciding it was time to regroup. He restocked food, weapons, and erased evidence of the battle. With Nike ready, he launched a drone to scout a nearby caravan. Daichi spotted travelers approaching across a vast quiet landscape and decided to greet them. He awkwardly introduced himself, trying to appear friendly while holding his pet cat. The travelers were surprised to see a man accompanied only by a long-furred feline companion. Curious, they asked if cats were rare in the region, prompting Daichi's explanation. Daichi introduced himself and Nike, his partner, as the travelers admired the unique feline. Daichi introduced himself with a flustered expression, as the girl revealed her name, Alicia Heartland. Alicia's companion scolded her for being careless, questioning Daichi's claim of being a lone merchant. To back his cover, Daichi showed off his gear, presenting his tools and supplies convincingly. He cleverly displayed a canned drink, confusing them by implying it was a magic tool. Internally, Daichi confirmed that magic tools did exist, validating his assumption from the status screen. Daichi placed his strange tool on the ground, encouraging the two women to inspect it for themselves. Curious, they examined it. One admitted it wasn't magic, the other found it incredible. When Daichi asked to join their journey, they hesitated. He offered to meet their leader in town. Suspicious, one examined his hands and denied his skill with weapons. Daichi laughed off the accusation, exposing his lack of combat experience. Daichi spotted two travelers in the distance and cautiously approached, trying to appear harmless. He greeted them with a nervous smile, holding his cat Nike. One of the girls watched him closely, to ease suspicion, he explained. He was just a man with his pet. The girl asked if he was traveling alone. Daichi confirmed and asked about local cats. She found Nike unusual. She introduced herself as Alicia. Daichi tried to appear casual, explaining his speech as friendly and age-appropriate. He was warned not to act suspiciously, though both women confirmed he did seem questionable. The caravan came into view, a long line of wagons pulled by horses, moving slowly. A stern man emerged, asking Daichi if he was the one seeking to travel with them. Daichi introduced himself. The man, Klaus Bertram, confirmed his identity as the caravan leader and president. Daichi confidently presents his trade proposal, fully aware of its bold nature. He offers a pouch of goods at cost, surprising the merchant with his unexpected generosity. The merchant questions if Daichi understands the product's true value. Daichi explains its commonality back home, yet admits its value depends on location. Impressed, the merchant reveals the pepper's worth in this land is many times higher. The caravan leader explains that pepper is a rare and imported luxury, only affordable by nobles and the wealthy. He quickly realizes Daichi lacks a permit to sell, suspecting him to be a foreigner from another continent. While his origins are confirmed, Daichi asks the group to keep his background secret to avoid unnecessary trouble. Daichi appreciates their understanding as the atmosphere settles, easing the tension slightly. The leader proposes an alternative, offering something other than money in exchange for the pepper. Daichi expressed his intent to become a merchant in this country, despite being a foreigner. He asked for knowledge and support, confident in his ability to build trust. Klaus seemed amused but acknowledged Daichi's attitude. Though interested, Klaus said the offer wasn't enough and hinted more pepper was required to seal the deal. Daichi agreed, offering more goods. Klaus approved, considering him capable and dependable. Recalling his grandfather's words, Daichi committed to surpassing expectations to build strong business ties. The merchant issued a command for Lloyd to collect the goods. Daichi and Karina stood by, awaiting further instructions. The merchant asked Alicia if she was fine escorting Daichi to Kamaru. She agreed without hesitation. Daichi expressed his enthusiasm about the upcoming journey, extending his hand in friendship. Both Alicia and Karina accepted his gesture, signaling a cooperative start to their travels. Karina informed Daichi they needed to explain his background to her superior. Daichi humbly asked his companions to drop the formalities, hoping they'd treat him as a friend. He then introduced his adorable partner Nike, the fluffy cat, capturing Alicia's full attention. As she held Nike, the cat slipped unexpectedly, causing a brief panic. Alicia quickly embraced the cat, enamored by her cuteness. Daichi smiled and reminded her that while Nike was adorable, he was just Daichi. Daichi's warm smile softened Alicia's nerves as she held Nike, the fluffy cat, close to her chest. Embarrassed, she turned away, hiding her flustered face. Daichi suggested they move on, and she quietly agreed. Flustered again, she addressed him formally but quickly corrected herself, calling him just Daichi. She hugged Nike tightly while Daichi teased her. Nike suddenly sensed something and reacted. Far away, the merchant leader discussed Daichi's potential with Lloyd. Two men analyzed the newcomer over dinner, noting his refined hands and quick thinking. They debated whether he was the son of a rich merchant or a naive noble. They speculated the pepper container came from an item box, a rare magical tool. They recalled how item boxes work powered by magic, time, stilled, and usable, only by the owner. In contrast, magical bags were simpler and time-bound. The elders discussed the young outsider's origins and his possession of a rare item box. Despite his unfamiliar background, his knowledge and demeanor earned their cautious respect and silent interest. With confidence and his cat companion, the young boy's new adventure in this world began. The merchant and his companions approached the camp, preparing for the next task. He examined a glass cup, noting its rarity in this world's standards. A girl nearby requested help with the fire, drawing the group's attention. Permission was given, and curiosity rose about how she'd start the fire. With effort and flint, a strong flame erupted, surprising the onlookers. The boy watched fire spirit magic in action, amazed by its daily use and simplicity. He learned that non-fire users relied on magic tools or flint to start fires. Curious, he asked if all magic tools were usable by anyone with magic. She hinted deeper truths. She explained how magic determined job opportunities, leaving non-users disadvantaged and dependent. Memories of financial struggles in his old world resurfaced, mirroring the gap in this one. Asakura realized that magic determined one's worth in this world, a thought that weighed on him. Accidentally saying it aloud, he startled the girl, then quickly covered his mouth in regret. She smiled gently, assuring him that she had grown used to such comments. Despite her limitations, she felt blessed, surrounded by kind people and a supportive job. Inspired, Asakura resolved to use his ability to support those without magic. Asakura became excited at the idea of disrupting the world's values using his knowledge. He planned to help non-magic users by introducing Earth's technology to equalize their lives. He presented a lighter to Colette, claiming it could start fires easily. The group examined it with curiosity, surprised by its gem-like clarity and compact size. Colette hesitated, mistaking it for a rare and expensive magical artifact. The group watched anxiously as the unfamiliar tool clattered to the ground. Asakura calmly reassured Colette, encouraging her to use it without hesitation. She carefully struck the lighter, producing a steady flame that caught the kindling. A warm fire lit up the space. Colette admired the device's simplicity and usefulness. Smiling, she praised his tools and believed his mission to help others would succeed. Asakura offered the lighter as thanks, surprising Colette with the unexpected gift. As he turned to leave, Colette objected, insisting the item was too valuable to accept. Their conversation was interrupted when a towering figure approached the group. The man was introduced as Captain Jeffrey, leader of the escort party assigned to protect them. With a grin, Jeffrey confirmed he would accompany them on the journey to the next town. Alicia confirmed she was tasked with watching over Asakura, who took the comment lightly. As the group walked off, Colette hesitated, staring silently at her empty dishes. Later that night, Asakura lay inside his tent, reflecting on the day's events. He was surprised the lighter's appearance impressed more than its function. Alicia entered, informing him the company president requested his presence immediately. Asakura prepared himself, wondering if there was an issue with the pepper he supplied. Outside, the camp buzzed with laughter and chatter, contrasting his nervous thoughts. He entered the tent, greeted by the president, and invited to sit down. He offered to replace the goods, concerned there had been a complaint. The president praised the pepper's quality, but revealed there was another reason for the meeting. Asakura clarified that the lighter belonged to Colette and wasn't taken from her. Colette explained she'd been asked about the item, though she knew nothing of it. The president warned Asakura of its immense worth, catching him off guard. He described it as a luxury product, likely used by nobility in their society. Its value came from accessibility usable, even by those without magic. Unlike typical magic tools, the president explained that the lighter's glass-like case held significant value, similar to rare materials. Asakura realized selling such items recklessly could cause unintended consequences in the market. Pretending it never happened wasn't an option. They had to handle the situation carefully. Another item, a glass cup, was also deemed suitable only for the upper class. A glass rose sculpture was revealed, reinforcing the luxury appeal of his products. Asakura unveiled the glass rose, uncertain if he had once again gone too far. The beautiful design stunned the onlookers, but sudden panic gripped the girl. A sword flashed between them. Karina had reacted instantly to protect the scene. She quietly apologized, stating she had simply lost her composure before stepping back. The president and Asakura exchanged apologies, while Karina warned him to stay close for safety. Asakura remained calm, hiding the fact he hadn't grasped how close the sword had come. He suggested Karina stay, and with approval, the tense meeting resumed. The president reminded Karina of their situation, prompting her full attention. Asakura clarified the item's identity, while the president explained its exceptional trade value. Astonished by the variety of items, they admired the glass's unexpected beauty and utility. The president noted the shine of the glass differed from that of the lighter's case. Asakura considered marketing strategies and hinted at offering the lighters as bonuses. He explained his approach, pairing the lighters with high-end glassware to build appeal among nobles. Though the plan was modest, the group saw no better option and agreed to proceed. A formal partnership was sealed with mutual understanding and commitment to work together. With a firm handshake, the merchant and president sealed their partnership, marking the beginning of a new venture. Asakura later apologized to Karina, acknowledging the misunderstanding during the tense moment. Though reassured, Karina still felt uneasy about how things unfolded. She expressed quiet concern, though others believed she handled her role well. To lighten the mood, Asakura offered his cat to Alicia, who gratefully embraced it. Asakura grinned, pleased that his plan to lift Alicia's mood worked effortlessly. Encouraged, she forced a smile, unsure if it looked natural but hopeful it was enough. Her awkward expression flustered her, while Asakura teased her again, drawing a glare from Karina latter. Asakura noticed whispers and stares following him around the camp. Karina explained rumors were spreading about the lighter, and more curiously, about his identity. Rumors about the boy's identity swirled. Some believed he was royalty in hiding. Others thought he was a noble chasing love. The group brushed off the wild stories, amused by the camp's vivid imaginations and curiosity. Suddenly, panicked villagers burst into the area, yelling about a monster threat they couldn't outrun. Horrified, they learned a horde of dangerous king apes was closing in. The knight stepped forward, commanding the others to stay close as battle loomed. A sudden roar from the forest halts everyone. Giant beasts known as king apes charge toward the camp. The commanding officer shouts for the large beast interception formation, prompting soldiers to rush into organized defense. Adventurers and guards take positions, archers lining up at the rear as melee fighters brace up front. Daichi stays behind, assigned to guard Alicia, while the front line prepares for battle. Alicia insists on fighting, but Daichi asks her to leave defense to him. Daichi learns about non-elemental magic, particularly how it strengthens the body and equipment through enhancement. As enemies approach, he wonders if he can use similar methods to protect himself in battle. A massive horde of king apes charges forward, screeching with fury as they close in on the defenses. The commander gives the signal, voice firm and loud, ordering the archers to release their volley. Arrows fly as the archers fire in unison, aiming to break the momentum of the charging beasts. Daichi watches as the apes leap midair, confident they can't evade the incoming arrows. To his shock, the arrows bounce off harmlessly. The apes roar, unfazed and still charging. The commander quickly shifts tactics, calling for immediate use of magic attacks. Flames and elemental spells rain down, striking the apes and sending several crashing to the ground. Despite losses, some apes reach the shield wall, clashing violently with the frontline defenders. Daichi watches the frontline clash unfold, concerned about the fighters, but reassured by Alicia's calm response. A sudden alert rings out: more king apes are charging in from the southern forest. The commander calls to maintain pressure. Daichi hesitates, wondering if he should intervene despite their strength. Holding Nike close, he quietly considers using modern gear, but decides to stay cautious for now. Suspicious of the apes' unusual aggression, they send Alicia to confirm enemy presence in the south. Daichi spots a new wave of king apes, flanking from the east, and urgently alerts Karina to defend. The beasts rush in at alarming speed, leaving Daichi with no time to prepare a weapon. One ape lunges toward him, but Karina intercepts, striking it down without hesitation. More enemies close in. Karina braces herself, while Alicia begins forming magic behind her. Seeing Alicia in danger, Daichi panics and shouts her name in desperation. A king ape breaks through the defenses, lunging straight toward Daichi with deadly speed. He reacts instinctively, launching a powerful kick that sends the beast flying backward. Another ape charges in, and Daichi meets it head-on, clashing fiercely at close range. Despite the impact, Daichi throws the creature with a spinning throw, knocking it away. His allies watch in shock as he lands, revealing unexpected strength under pressure. Daichi crashes to the ground, prompting immediate concern from Alicia and Karina as they rush to check on him. Injured and surrounded, the group begins retreating, but the king apes continue their relentless pursuit. One ape closes in, but Daichi strikes back while a soldier intercepts another from the side. Alicia freezes as a king ape appears directly behind her without warning. She turns in shock face with a beast ready to strike. Daichi shields Alicia from the beast's strike, bracing himself for the impact. Karina and Alicia shout in panic, fearing Daichi has been seriously hurt. To everyone's surprise, Daichi remains standing, confused that the attack didn't hurt at all. A sudden realization dawns: his body was reinforced by non-elemental magic all along. He recalls earlier moments, noticing the slowed enemies and enhanced strength were already signs. Daichi grips his knife tightly and drives it into the ape's side, confident in his control. With enhanced strength and gear, the blade slices cleanly, surprising him with how effective it feels. He quickly joins Karina in combat, reinforcing her position and attacking with precision. Another beast charges him. Daichi strikes again using the enchanted blade, but the knife doesn't pierce deep enough, and the beast thrashes violently in response. Daichi faces the ape's open jaws, but stays calm as it lunges in close. He smirks silently, confident despite the danger closing in. Karina prepares a counterattack. With swift movement, she slashes through the enemy with precision. After the strike, she calmly collects herself. Daichi, stunned, watches her with newfound admiration, lost in thought. Daichi's trance breaks as the others call out. Concerned he's taken a hit, Daichi checks on the girls, relieved they're unharmed. While they worry more about his condition, they regroup near the tents. The enemies are thinning out, and the defense line holds firm. Daichi urges Karina to support the front. She pauses, silently considering his determination. The enemy's flanking plan has failed. Their retreat begins as morale breaks. Karina smiles gently. Daichi quietly notes how much calmer she looks now. Daichi notices blood and tries to check his injury, but Alicia immediately offers to help. She prepares water magic to clean the wound, ignoring his protest to do it himself. Alicia insists, gently wiping his face while Daichi allows it, flustered but thankful. As she cleans him up, he realizes she's using water spirit magic naturally. Surprised, Alicia shyly responds, while Karina silently observes their growing understanding. Daichi reflects on the difference between elemental and spirit magic, explaining their structure and traits. He deduces Alicia's abilities, realizing spirit magic is more efficient and potent than elemental types. Trying to avoid offense, he casually claims he just assumed she had the superior type. Karina and Alicia stare silently, unconvinced by his reasoning but amused by his logic. A knight nearby explains how rare spirit users are, shocking Daichi with the low numbers. Daichi admits his lack of knowledge and asks for guidance, prompting Alicia's teasing response. The girls agree to help him learn, though Karina seems slightly reluctant. Daichi jokingly offers to honor them with a statue, which both girls firmly reject. With the battle finished, they consider helping the wounded and checking on the aftermath. Karina wonders why the apes attacked. Daichi has guesses, but others may know more. Daichi reflects on the rarity of spirit magic and the danger of revealing his appraisal skill. Walking with the others, he realizes survival is difficult, even with strong abilities. Daichi smiled confidently, ignoring his bruises. She watched from beneath the blanket, puzzled by his relaxed expression. Memories of the battle returned. He had faced the monster unarmed, calmly placing himself between her and danger. Even as the creature attacked, he smiled. She couldn't understand his expression in that moment. It reminded her of fairy tale strong, fearless protectors standing tall without hesitation. But doubt lingered. Was he truly that kind of person? Daichi smiled with ease, unaware that his calm demeanor left others speechless and confused. She sat up in bed, silently watching the glowing camp outside, her thoughts tangled. The morning erupted with surprise as she learned Daichi had never ridden a horse, yet joined the journey anyway. Even while riding in a high-quality coach, he complained, unbothered by the nobles around him. Whispers followed him. Though treated as a guest, Daichi questioned why people kept their distance. A strange glow from Daichi's tent caught everyone's attention. Though confused, he brushed it off casually. He was advised to consult the others before publicly revealing his unusual tools again. Curious, she asked about the device he had used. He teased that she could have just visited his tent. Embarrassed by the thought, she panicked, insisting a night visit would be improper. Realizing his mistake, Daichi awkwardly apologized for offending the young maiden. Daichi was shocked to learn both girls were older than him, despite claiming to be 22. They teased him, amused by his reaction and quick attempt to appear mature. Flustered, He realized they saw him as a younger boy despite his protests. He dropped the subject, admitting his mistake and moving on as they continued their journey. Later they discussed a failed expedition. Only 5 survivors escaped the wrath of forest beasts. Daichi learned that baby apes were captured, enslaved, and used for labor, especially in the military. He was shocked at their high market price, with the youngest fetching the most gold. Though not criminals, the adventurers were held responsible for the destruction from the recent battle. Those unable to pay faced forced servitude. Daichi questioned the value of adventuring. A seasoned adventurer reassured him, it's not a bad job if handled wisely. Daichi listened as the others explained how the failed mission lacked proper investigation, leaving no search for survivors. Trying to understand local customs, he noted how using strength, enhancing magic around women might be rude. He was praised for adapting well, though Alicia was warned not to coddle him too much. Wanting to lighten the mood, Daichi suggested a break and reached into his bag. To everyone's surprise, he revealed modern snacks, delighting the group with unexpected treats. Daichi offered food from his homeland, explaining that the Japanese flavors might be a bit unfamiliar. Curious, the girls examined the snacks, while Daichi eagerly awaited their reactions. He unpacked more items from his item box, made accessible through a disguised magic bag. As they chatted, Daichi noticed something odd in their expressions. Sensing a change in tone, they reached Takura village, ending their break as the road ahead demanded their focus. Daichi joked about how some modern items, like sandwich wrappers, weren't meant for just anyone to see. With a break ahead, he suggested a walk through the outskirts of the village. Karina offered a better idea: explore the village itself after lunch, and Alicia agreed to scout first. They hoped Daichi could learn more by seeing local culture and visiting the village shops. Realizing his outfit stood out, Daichi agreed with their plan and appreciated their thoughtfulness. Alicia expressed how much she enjoyed Daichi's honest personality, leaving him startled by her boldness. Before leaving to scout, Karina estimated a short trip, while Daichi nervously agreed to wait behind. Settling into the coach, Daichi and Alicia were joined by curious animals from outside. Playfully, Alicia entertained the cat, but it pounced on her again with perfect timing. The game continued with laughter as Alicia got caught in a flurry of feline chaos. Alicia challenged the playful cat by enhancing her movements, determined to take the game up a notch. With surprising speed, she and the cat darted around the coach, leaving Daichi stunned by their energy. He realized even Nike could use enhancement, and Alicia had just uncovered it. Daichi quietly asked her to keep that secret between them, and she agreed with a soft gaze. As their moment lingered, Karina returned, catching them in an unexpectedly quiet, emotional stillness. Karina returned quickly, and the group welcomed her with relief. She informed them they would remain in the village for 2 days, signaling that unexpected trouble had emerged. The group receives unexpected news: they must remain in the village for 2 days. Due to damage from the previous night's battle with the king apes, everyone rests while lodging is arranged. With spare time, the protagonist is startled by a sudden suggestion for lunch. Karina cheerfully demands the sandwich he summoned, recalling his earlier craving. Everyone gathers, curious about the unfamiliar food from another world. The sandwich's soft texture surprises the girls as they examine it curiously. A cautious bite leads to immediate shock. Its flavor and softness exceed expectations. One girl savors every bite with glowing admiration, overwhelmed by the taste. Between bites, curiosity grows about the ingredients hidden inside the sandwich. With a grateful smile, she clutches the remaining sandwiches tightly as the boy offers more. New treats appear, drawing curiosity with their sweet aroma and strange appearance. The cat meows impatiently until it's fed, eagerly devouring its portion. Amused, the others watch as the cat demands even more attention and food. A companion takes a hesitant bite of a new sandwich, unsure of what to expect. A burst of sweetness stuns her. She marvels at the taste, asking in awe what it is. After tasting the whipped cream, Karina lights up in delight, praising its sweet flavor. Offered more, she hesitates, but his calm assurance convinces her. Grateful, she accepts with a smile, touched by his kind words and generosity. As the girls continue enjoying the treats, he quietly admits how easily he's swayed too. When asked about the cost, he simply brushes it off, prioritizing their happiness over expense. Karina glares quietly while continuing to eat, unimpressed by his shallow charm. The boy reflects on their past moments before presenting another dessert with a smile. He offers the treat to the girls, who eagerly accept as their cat observes closely. Elsewhere, a nobleman reacts in disbelief after hearing someone drop kicked a king ape. She calmly defends her account until the nobleman concedes, realizing her magical awareness proved accurate. The nobleman listens, overwhelmed. As Karina finishes recounting the battle's events involving Asura, she explains his restrained power fighting with only a knife suggesting hidden strength and enchanted gear. Doubt turns into awe as he admits no one could rival Asakura's non-elemental magic. They reflect on his lack of martial skill but impressive magical talent, hinting at a mystery. Despite appearing untrained, Asakura's behavior and knowledge suggest experience learned from skilled mentors. Speculation arises about Asakura's origins, with noble lineage from another continent being considered. Karina confirms his importance and is instructed to keep his identity confidential. She is assigned to protect him and ensure others won't uncover his secrets before reaching Karam. She accepts the task with quiet awe, likening him to a hero from a fairy tale, returning with cake. Asakura's cheerful presence interrupts her moment of reflection. In a quiet village lined with shops, new clothes are laid out for inspection. Asakura emerges in a simple outfit, seeking approval from his companions. Unsure, he notes it doesn't feel like his usual style, and the others agree. He considers more stylish options, but is warned not to draw attention if traveling. Settling on practical attire, he makes his purchase while charming the shopkeeper effortlessly. Asakura playfully flatters the shopkeeper, joking about her youthful looks. His charm earns him a discount, with Karina noting how smoothly he negotiates. He surprises everyone by offering to pay not in coins, but with something unusual. A gleaming silver bar stuns the group, its value far beyond what's expected. Karina rushes in, throwing coins instead, determined to avoid a financial disaster. Karina scolds Asakura for nearly overpaying again, suspecting it was intentional. Asakura casually suggests visiting another shop, but Karina insists otherwise. She redirects the group to the guild leader instead. Grabbing Asakura before he can object, dragged away. Asakura accepts his fate as the group follows Karina's determined lead. Inside the tent, Daichi faced suspicion as an elder questioned his actions. He clarified he had only intended to pay for clothes. Latter rang from outside, contrasting the tension within. Daichi revealed a silver ingot, causing surprise. Unfazed, he mentioned that silver bars were a common form of payment back home. Having relied on his item box for essentials, he'd never needed to spend money before. Needing cash now, he quickly pivoted, offering goods for sale instead. Frustration filled the older man's mind as he grappled with Daichi's unfamiliar logic and reckless displays of goods. When asked about her feelings, the knight dismissed any anger, maintaining a cool demeanor. Though she claimed she wasn't upset, Daichi still apologized, recognizing his mistake in acting without permission. He promised to be more cautious, prompting a mixed reaction of forgiveness and mild scolding. In the end, smiles returned as she forgave him, blaming the master, not the cat. Daichi presented a colorful assortment of sweets, offering them with a smile as a form of apology. The knight raised an eyebrow, questioning if food alone could resolve his blunder, prompting Daichi to explain a custom from his world. He admitted that chocolate couldn't solve everything, yet it carried heartfelt intent. Faced with sincerity, they reluctantly accepted. Curious about his culture, delighted by the taste, they eagerly asked for more. Daichi offered a sincere apology, prompting a surprisingly quick acceptance that left him slightly uneasy. The group entered a bustling village, where a crowd of rowdy adventurers filled the streets. As tension grew, they realized Daichi stood out unarmed and known, making him a potential target. Concerned about attracting trouble, they agreed to stay cautious and investigate the weapon shop discreetly. Daichi reassured them, claiming pacifism. Though his confidence didn't ease their worries, he questioned comparing adventurers to king apes, drew skeptical looks from his companions. They explained that while king apes were powerful alone, adventurers gained an edge through teamwork and planning. To avoid unwanted attention, the group decided it was time to improve Daichi's gear, starting with his outfit. At the armor shop, he eagerly examined equipment, prioritizing what was comfortable for Nike. Though his choices were unconventional, his thoughtfulness earned him their approval. Daichi examined a massive shield, impressed by its size, though it didn't match his armor's style. For his weapon, he confidently chose a longsword, driven by fantasy RPG enthusiasm. When asked about handling it, he brushed off concerns, believing intimidation alone would suffice. His companions weren't convinced, noting his success relied more on enhancements than skill. Quietly, Daichi began to question whether magic users truly had the upper hand. Daichi reflected on how magic users dominated society, easily performing tasks like farming or fire starting. This imbalance, he realized, created a growing gap, one that pushed non-magic users further behind. He began to dream of affordable tools that could improve everyday life, starting with luxury goods. When questioned, he brushed it off, saying it reminded him of home. While shopping, they gathered news goblins had appeared near Takara, prompting guild mobilization. Despite only a few formal acceptances, Nearly 40 adventurers gathered, many of them unruly and disorganized. There was growing concern that elite goblins might be among the horde, posing a serious threat even to large groups. Karina judged the adventurers as low-tier, barely D or E rank based on their movements. She explained the ranking system, with S-rank adventurers recognized by the king himself. However, rank didn't always equal strength. Only 7 true combat tiers existed from G to A. While combat rank was based on achievements, adventurers at D rank or higher had clearly survived their share of danger. When Daichi asked Karina about her own rank, she admitted she was C rank, carrying solid experience. He considered his own strength impressive, though he had yet to test his secret weapon. With uncertain enemy numbers, he noted it was hard to judge if the adventurer count was sufficient. His companions, still cautious, asked for the full picture, trusting Daichi wouldn't act without reason. Mina leaned in with sparkling eyes, claiming Daichi's intent while Nike's gesture supported her point, hesitated, unsure how to phrase her concern, prompting Daichi's curiosity. She brought up a nearby village, destroyed by bandits just 2 months ago. Despite frequent goblin sightings, the village was already in ruins by the time help arrived. Though adventurers were dispatched, the mission failed due to unclear objectives and missing leadership. Karina explained that failing a lord's request not only cost gold, but tarnished the adventurer's reputation. Daichi pondered whether some adventurers and bandits were secretly working together, hinting the village could be targeted next. Curious about his weapon, he asked the others to follow him somewhere private for a test. He wanted Karina's opinion on its performance, wondering how it compared to a goblin general. Without hesitation, Karina confirmed goblin generals were even stronger than king apes. Daichi suggested the grasslands as a test site, where Alika confirmed she could use some physical enhancement. Karina agreed, permitting the plan as long as they remained within sight of the convoy. While rushing ahead, Daichi collided with a hostile man who quickly became confrontational. A crowd gathered, tensions rose, and the man falsely accused Daichi of provoking him. Nearby, 2 hooded figures watched the scene quietly, their interest clearly piqued. Crude voices jeered, demanding coin, and women, amused by their supposed luckwan, stepped closer, and Karina's tone sharpened. Any further would mean consequences. Mockery continued, but Daichi's gaze shifted, irritation brewing as he considered testing his secret weapon. A calm suggestion followed: cripple them, but no need to go too far. Killing, however, came with a financial penalty. To Daichi, that price on death felt disturbingly normal. Facing armed adventurers, he decided to go easy, just enough force to make them back off. Weapons drawn, the enemies charged despite warnings. With calm certainty, he confirmed he could strike hard without consequence. Approval followed swiftly, confidence surged. Surrounded by allies, he stepped forward, ready to demonstrate a decisive gap in strength. A group of adventurers stood their ground at the village outskirts, facing off against a gang of armed troublemakers. The leader stepped forward, shielding his allies while preparing to fight. He reached out, activating a special skill that allowed him to summon modern items through a unique trading ability. Combining pocket dimension storage, body enhancement, and non-elemental magic, he prepared a counterattack. Without hesitation, he unleashed a powerful strike. The thugs crashed to the ground, overwhelmed by the force. Daichi stepped forward, his presence silencing the enemy. His hand rose, signaling something unseen but commanding. One man screamed as his leg collapsed, blood soaking the ground beneath him. Another foe reeled back, yelping in shock. Daichi's gaze remained steady, unfazed by the chaos. From the side, Karina joined the fray, moving with deadly precision, her blade cut swiftly. With calm resolve, she confirmed the task. Every dominant arm tendon was severed, swift, clean, and effective. Karina stood firmly before the defeated men, making it clear they were no longer welcome near the village. Nearby villagers watched in disbelief, slowly realizing the confrontation was over, and the outsiders had prevailed. Noticing that the small cat had slept through the entire disturbance, Alicia stepped forward, holding the cat protectively while scolding the offenders for their careless behavior. Aunt's calm returned. Karina checked on Alicia, ensuring she was unharmed as the group prepared to move on. Ordered firmly by Alicia, the trembling men groveled before the cat, shouting apologies with panic in their voices. Everyone watched as Alicia cuddled Nike, praising her mercy. Karina, however, questioned the earlier violence. Daichi casually scratched his head, unsure how to justify his overkill. While cut tendons could be healed with basic magic, regenerating limbs was another matter entirely. Daichi realized the cost of healing was high. Fortunately, Nike's magic might help if she felt like it. Injuries would delay any retaliation, making ambushes more likely than open conflict. That outcome was fully intentional. Concerns shifted toward accommodations, as inns likely wouldn't welcome such a disheveled group. Suspicion rose over the brutal attack. That level of damage couldn't come from basic magic alone. Calmly, he explained it wasn't ordinary. It was a rare, exclusive skill no one else could use. While uncommon, abilities like his weren't unheard of. Both worlds had their exceptions. Learning that only one person on the continent held a unique skill came as a surprise. So much for a few. Pressed for the truth. He admitted to being exiled because of his rare ability, haunted by betrayal. He recalled how even his family turned on him. Talking about it remained difficult. Despite discomfort, he agreed to explain just among trusted company. In his palm, a bullet formed. Fire-powered acceleration completed the deadly skill. Lifting a larger bullet, he explained its force. Bigger meant more damage. A single shot had taken a leg. After the explanation, he asked for thoughts on its combat value, curious to hear honest impressions. Though hesitant, he pushed to test more ideas. Not everyone shared his enthusiasm. To lighten the mood, he offered snacks. Choices included sweet and salty. With a soft smile, Karina chose sweets, relaxing for the first time. Plans for a post-experiment snack were sealed with cheerful agreement. Sweets had clearly won Karina's heart. Before setting up, the group scouted a safe place. Open ground was preferred, but deep forest risks forced them to stop early. Nike was handed over for safekeeping, prompting Alicia's eager delight. Snuggles and snacks followed. The bond between girl and cat had become an obvious unspoken alliance. Eventually, even Alicia had to call out Nike's overzealous affection. Admiring Nike's adorable display, he quickly shifted back into focus, ready to demonstrate serious firepower. From the pocket dimension, he summoned the Desert Eagle, a modern weapon capable of immense damage. AA thought triggered, draw activated the pistol. No hand movement needed. The gun appeared in his palm, ready to fire. One shot ripped through a thick tree trunk. Bark exploded, leaving stunned silence in its wake. Awe spread across both faces. Such force wasn't ordinary. Praise followed immediately. Confirmation followed that the destructive force truly came from a single hunk of lead. No magical chant, no casting delay. Speed, not repetition, was the real challenge. Even seasoned mages couldn't match it. Comparison to a pistol emphasized the threat. Magic users, even at low ranks, had terrifying potential. Among non-magical folk, the ability alone made someone dangerous, regardless of skill tier. Faced with the question, he didn't hesitate. Offensive magic trumped all. Alicia clarified that only those ranked F or higher in the Mage Guild were officially called Mage's Adventurer. Ranks were separate. While snacks were expected, the main course turned out to be another weapon test. He warned them to watch closely. A massive shot blasted through the target zone, leaving everyone stunned by the raw force. Despite the result, he admitted his aim needed work. For reference, even high-ranking mages would struggle to pierce such a large tree. Bringing down a tree wasn't impossible, Karina noted, but piercing it cleanly was far tougher. Even with advanced magic, Alicia casually listed a few capable Earth users, hinting she had more in mind if accuracy wasn't a concern. In this world, Nike's water bullet rivaled high-ranking mage spells, despite seeming average by Isekai standards. Relieved, Karina joked about her fears he'd go further. He smiled. That level of power reserved for his trump card, Nike's spirit magic. With the sun high, the group paused for a snack, enjoying a rare moment of peace. While the others ate, he shifted the topic, hinting at an idea forming in his mind. He declared his plan to open a shop in the village, using his abilities in a new way. In a quiet village, Daichi resolved to launch a new experiment, setting up his first shop using his unique ability. As he shared his idea, curious adventurers gathered, intrigued by the possibility of something new. Reactions varied. Some showed excitement, others wary anticipation, wondering what strange tools he'd produce this time. He sought opinions from Alicia, an expert in magic tools, before approaching the guild leader for approval. He revealed modern tools, unfamiliar to the world, questioning if such items existed in this land. The unfamiliar tools left the group puzzled. They had never seen such objects before, and couldn't guess their purpose. Daichi demonstrated their use, striking a match and lighting a flame without any chant or magic circle. He clarified they weren't magical artifacts, anyone could use them, regardless of magical ability. He explained the science behind them, noting how even a single match could spark a proper fire. Alicia was stunned. These simple items could easily replace complex fire, starting magic tools. Daichi revealed his plan to sell modern tools to people without magic, opening access to practical alternatives. He expressed his desire to improve their lives, despite the market's tendency to ignore such customers. To counter that, he decided to price the items low enough for even the poor to afford. Though aware of how it might seem, he remained honest about his intentions. He proposed dividing his business efforts between the rich and poor, to serve both without bias. Concerns arose about supply and credibility if demand surged, but Daichi assured them of ample stock. He confirmed he could manufacture replacements easily, removing doubt about production capacity. Despite needing approval, he was determined to pitch his plan to the guild leader, with full confidence. With the others satisfied, the discussion lightened as dessert appeared cheesecake, marking a break in tension. Conversation shifted to magic, with Daichi asking about the elemental abilities the girls could use. Alicia revealed her rare ability to use all elemental magic, surprising Daichi with her exceptional potential. Karina urged secrecy, cautioning him not to pry deeper into matters that might be sensitive. Curious, Daichi asked about their ranks. Both women confirmed they were B-rank mages in the guild. Karina explained her rank stemmed from her mastery of wind and non-elemental magic, despite using a sword. Daichi wondered if she now wielded stronger enchanted gear than during her battle with the King Apes. Karina explained she had done her best against the King Apes, but lacked time to prepare her gear or enhancements. Daichi offered a treat, easing the tension as they shifted back to lighter conversation over dessert. Alicia admitted her lack of battle experience, having frozen in fear during the earlier confrontation. She revealed her natural talent for enchantment magic, leaning toward crafting tools rather than combat roles. Alicia described how enchantment infused elemental magic into compatible materials, forming practical tools like fire starters. Alicia explained that enchanted tools allowed those with minor magic to use elements they lacked. Daichi proposed multi-element tools, but the group clarified the complexity and limits of such creations. Advanced tools with adjustable output and safety features existed, but were costly and difficult to make. Karina explained that magic, including enchantment, was innate, something one had to be born with. Realizing his own limitations, Daichi admitted defeat in crafting magic tools, despite their technological appeal. Daichi reflected on Nike's growing usefulness, noting her potential in reconnaissance and water-based attacks. He asked Karina to demonstrate her wind magic scouting, hoping Nike could learn by observing. Despite wind magic being invisible, Daichi insisted on seeing the process, eager to understand its use. Karina activated her spell, and a visible disturbance rippled through the air, drawing everyone's attention. Nike's sharp reaction confirmed her awareness, signaling that she understood the nature of the magic. Karina sensed movement nearby, possibly human. Alarmed, she suspected it could be bandits hiding deeper in the forest. Alicia confirmed the count, 8 individuals. Her precise detection surprised the others with its clarity. Daichi began realizing Alicia wasn't as gentle and simple as she seemed. There was more hidden beneath. He noted others, including the guild leader, were likely concealing key details about Alicia's true nature. While Daichi considered the intruders might be adventurers, Karina readied her weapon, uncertain of their intent. Karina decided to keep the unknown group within scouting range, tracking their movement from a distance. Daichi admitted his lack of combat readiness, but recognized his overall ability in this world. They debated approaching, but Karina warned against reckless action without knowing the enemy's capabilities. Nike reacted sharply, heightening suspicions that the group might indeed be hostile bandits. Daichi prepared for conflict, summoning heavy firepower ready to show no mercy if the village was threatened. Karina sensed a troubling shift. The group's numbers had grown, prompting concern. With the count now at 20, Daichi considered the implications and guessed their base must be nearby. Alicia offered to assist, but Karina declined, suggesting they report the matter to the guild leadership. The group delivered their findings, prompting the guild leader to forward the alert to Captain Jeffrey. While waiting for the captain, Daichi proposed, discussing a separate issue, hoping to use the time wisely. Daichi proposed opening a store in the village, showcasing 2 unfamiliar items to the guild officer. To demonstrate, he struck a match, igniting it without any magic, leaving the observer surprised. He clarified the matches were single, use and short-lived, meant to be discarded after each ignition. When questioned about affordability, Daichi emphasized his goal to support non-magic users with accessible pricing. He firmly set the cost at 2 silver coins, enough for value, yet still within reach, stating it was business, not charity. Daichi revealed he would sell a box of fire starters for 1 silver coin, shocking the captain with the low price. He explained they were just flammable scraps, cheap, disposable, and usually bundled with matches anyway. After demonstrating one, the captain tested it himself, easily igniting the material with a basic tool. Realizing its simplicity, Daichi reconsidered his plan. Perhaps focusing on fire starters was a better strategy, despite a suggestion to raise the price. Alicia quickly and firmly rejected the idea without hesitation. Despite the suggestion, Daichi remained firm he would sell the fire starters for 1 silver coin. He quickly recognized the guild's interest in him, knowing he had to act wisely without exposing his true worth. With negotiations shifting, he offered exclusive luxury goods to the nobles, holding back his best items. Captain Jeffrey accepted the proposal with a smile, suggesting they continue talks after stabilizing the situation. Suddenly, a man entered the tent, bringing a new presence that shifted the atmosphere entirely. The group was questioned about the forest incident and the suspicious figures hiding near the village. Torreno village was attacked by bandits, and reports described suspicious figures hiding in the nearby woods, while crime increased. Inside the tent, the group gathered, and the young merchant pushed for investigating the figures seen near the forest. The recent raid and road robberies strongly suggested the figures were bandits. The group hesitated, worried about dividing their limited manpower. A cautious plan was chosen, and Karina was selected to join the forest search. Asakura and Alicia volunteered to join the search, aiming to reduce the strain on the convoy's guards. The guild leader, however, refused, not wanting to risk the safety of his guests. Karina stepped in, pointing out their past achievements and strong magical capabilities in battle. Alicia supported the assessment, noting Asakura's powerful fire magic and ability to retreat if needed. The group decided Alicia could assist from afar with ranged support if necessary. Asakura suspected Alicia held noble status, judging by others' reactions, and acknowledged the importance of returning safely. Leadership roles were assigned. Karina would head the search team. Jeffrey would remain on standby, and recruitment was delegated. Karina prepared to lead, arranging escorts while noting Asakura's magic might be revealed during the mission. Asakura accepted, but was advised not to reveal his full capabilities. Karina warned him gently his trusting nature could be risky. Karina suggested disguising Asakura's skill, prompting him to consider melee or bow weapons, settling on a Japanese sword. Meanwhile, two individuals, Dennis and Frida, were summoned for a new assignment. Curious about the urgency, the pair questioned the task awaiting them. They were informed of a suspicious group in the woods and invited to assist in the investigation. Despite their casual attitude, Asakura observed their exchange and noted their underlying combat readiness. As the group headed out, one asked about the two guests, prompting a vague but deliberate reply. Karina organized the team's formation, assigning herself and Asakura to the vanguard. Alicia took the midguard, while Dennis and Frida were placed in the rearguard to cover all sides. Asakura hesitantly admitted his limited combat experience, despite recent success. Dennis playfully dismissed the concern, praising Asakura's victory over King Apes as proof of real skill. Asakura asked to drop formalities, preferring to be called by his name instead of titles. While walking, Dennis asked if Asakura planned to open a shop in Karam. Asakura explained that Karam was his next stop, though he hadn't chosen a permanent location yet. Dennis had expected something grander, but Asakura clarified he only intended to set up a small stall for now. Curious, Frida asked what he planned to sell. Asakura showed waterproof matches to Dennis and Frida, amazing them with fire-starting tools that didn't use magic. Karina signaled the team to prepare as they neared the location of 8 detected individuals. Movement in the forest prompted her to advise caution while scouting the area ahead. Dennis remained relaxed and confident, declaring his readiness while the others stayed alert. Suddenly, Asakura's cat reacted sharply, sensing an approaching presence in the woods. Asakura sensed danger from the right side through Nike's wind magic and alerted the group quietly. Alicia confirmed a group of 3 located 5 kilometers away, prompting Karina to stay sharp. Asakura used binoculars to scout ahead, surprising the others with the unfamiliar device. Dennis tried them and was amazed, reacting loudly to the magnified view. Asakura pointed out a glowing presence in the forest, spotted just after Nike's initial signal. Karina detected a group moving less than 2 kilometers away, though details were still unclear at that distance. Alicia was praised for her contribution, and the group placed further trust in her sensory abilities. Karina activated physical enhancement magic and ordered the group to prepare for combat. Frida handed out equipment, reminding Asakura to ready his shield. Asakura revealed a massive shield, amusing some while others questioned its practicality. Alicia informed the team about a cave, located 2 kilometers away, prompting a quiet discussion. She sensed a large presence inside, possibly demi-humans estimating over 50, maybe even 60 individuals. The group exchanged tense glances, realizing the cave likely held serious trouble. With enough information gathered, Karina called for a retreat, deciding not to rush into the unknown. Asakura noted their cautious approach, acknowledging the team's strategic awareness in handling the situation. Concern spread as the group discussed humans realizing they'd likely been detected by scent. Dennis stated their best move was to gather detailed intel and return, noting the worst case was going missing. Frida remarked that just identifying the hideout and its numbers was commendable enough to earn praise. Asakura agreed, albeit nervously, trying to stay composed under pressure. Dennis reminded him that obedient clients are a guard's favorite, hinting he should follow instructions closely. Asakura accepted the advice with a smile, recalling the wild stories he had shared to gain trust. Karina announced the retreat, teasing Asakura as others playfully praised his obedient attitude. The group moved back through the forest, alert and watchful. As Asakura discreetly activated a device, upon return, Asakura was shocked to find the camp completely abandoned. Nothing remained. Karina confirmed the movement. The entire group had shifted into the nearby village unnoticed. The villagers grew uneasy, and Asakura worried about spies among them, possibly compromising the plan. Karina clarified their aim wasn't to fight, but to appear vigilant and strong enough to deter action. A messenger had been dispatched to the Knights Guild, while the group stayed behind to delay the enemy. They debated sharing intel with villagers, concerned about trust and the larger-than-expected enemy force. Ultimately, they chose to camp outside the village to maintain defense and gain cooperation. Karina returned with good news. The village chief agreed to cooperate with their efforts. Frida noted that even with their own defense force, the villagers' support was a fortunate outcome. Karina gave orders for the night, then casually used Asakura's first name, drawing reactions from the group. Embarrassed, she quickly tried to explain that Asakura had asked for informality earlier. The others teased her, guessing she had been hiding her familiarity during the mission. Asakura dismissed the teasing, accusing them of setting him up for rejection and playing it off. Frida pulled Karina close for girl talk, while Karina resisted the embarrassing interrogation. The teasing escalated, with Frida openly asking Daichi if he found Karina cute. Asakura gave a soft answer, admitting Karina was cute when nervous and even more so now. Karina froze in shock, overwhelmed by the sudden praise, and everyone's joyful reactions. Asakura announced he was setting up his stall, prompting teasing cheers toward Karina, who panicked over the misunderstanding. The group entered the village marketplace, deciding to observe how the villagers responded within the next 2 hours. Karina was asked if something had happened, but she nervously denied it. Alicia pressed further, sensing her reaction, while Karina struggled to deflect suspicion. Asakura waved them off, reminding them of the time limit and focusing on the stall setup. Daichi greeted the women as he prepared his stall. He explained he was only testing things out today. As one woman unpacked goods from her item box, Daichi expressed quiet envy. She and her friend joked that envy grows stronger with age, especially toward those with item boxes. Daichi listened silently. He then asked how they normally lit fires, prompting a simple answer flint. One woman admitted she could use a bit of magic. Though magical tools were far too expensive, Daichi introduces a new tool that can start fires without magic. He poses a question to the women nearby. He takes one of the woman's hands and demonstrates the tool, a box of waterproof matches. The woman lights the match successfully, her expression filled with shock and amazement. The surrounding villagers are equally surprised. As they recognize its practicality, Daichi feels a sense of accomplishment. Daichi stood under the market roof, drawing attention as he promoted his latest product, waterproof matches. Curious villagers gathered in excitement, eager to try the strange fire-starting items that needed no magic. He explained how the matches worked, demonstrating how easily they lit up firewood with just one use. A volunteer approached, carefully striking a match and placing it among the dry wood. The fire caught instantly, amazing the onlookers as flames danced effortlessly over the stacked kindling. Daichi confidently explained how the waterproof matches and fire starters made fire, building effortless, even without magic. He revealed the pricing: 25 matches for 2 silver coins and 60 fire starters for 1 silver. The crowd hesitated. He reminded them both items were single use. Despite that, the value seemed to impress the villagers. A bold customer stepped forward and chose to buy both products without hesitation. Daichi accepted the coins and offered to showcase even more of his modern goods. After completing the sale, Daichi offered a bonus to show appreciation for the customer's purchase. He reached into his pack, pulling out a portable grill, placing it over the fire as curious eyes watched. With a confident motion, he arranged rows of skewered chicken across the hot grill, smoke rising quickly. He explained the cooking process while the meat sizzled and began to brown over the flames. The mouth-watering scent spread through the crowd, stirring hunger in those who hadn't eaten all day. Daichi called out to the earlier customer, offering her a grilled chicken skewer as a thank you gift. She accepted it with surprise and took a bite, while others around her watched in silence. Her eyes widened in shock as she savored the taste, overwhelmed by how flavorful it was. Curiosity spread. More villagers asked about the sauce and whether the skewers were for sale. Daichi announced he'd include grilled chicken with any item purchase, drawing even more interest from the crowd. Crowds rushed to Daichi's stall, eager to purchase goods and grilled skewers, overwhelming his small setup. Despite the chaos, he thanked a nearby vendor for sharing space and offered skewers in gratitude. Alone and overworked, he continued grilling and selling, balancing both roles in his one-man operation. As closing time approached, Daichi invited customers to make their final purchases before he shut down. A group of intimidating men appeared, demanding free food, unaware that the chicken was already gone. The rowdy group grew aggressive, accusing Daichi of lying about the grilled chicken's availability, remaining calm. Daichi explained that the shop had closed, inviting them to return the next day. Unwilling to back down, the men threatened him, claiming he owed them better treatment as customers. Just as tensions rose, a confident swordswoman stepped in, unafraid of their intimidation. The men hesitated as her rank tag gleamed, revealing her status as a capable B-rank mage. The swordswoman firmly declared she was protecting Daichi, staring down the hostile men without flinching. Despite being outnumbered, she warned them that underestimating her would bring regret. Faced with her confidence, the group quickly backed off, pretending the situation no longer concerned them. Suddenly another group appeared this time, familiar faces who recognized the trouble brewing. One of them offered support, asking if backup was needed, and received a grateful nod in return. Daichi casually announced their departure, but a threat quickly followed, targeting the swordswoman who stood beside him. Angered by her attitude, the men shouted, blaming Daichi for mocking them and vowing to retaliate. Daichi admitted his joke, unintentionally adding fuel to their rage with a playful tone. Furious and fed up, the group declared him a dead man and stepped forward aggressively. Before anything escalated, another group appeared, their presence shifting the atmosphere with silent intimidation. A new challenger stepped in, mocking the situation while another girl cheered Daichi on from afar. The angry man tried to justify his actions, claiming they only meant to teach a lesson. Their group laughed off the confrontation, taunting Daichi and his companion as powerless. One of the men shouted a warning. She wasn't just any girl, but a B-rank mage. Realizing the threat was real, the loud group grew cautious, their expressions quickly shifting to unease. As tensions rose, another ally stepped forward, revealing that the swordswoman wasn't the only mage present. The enemy gang, undeterred, drew their weapons and charged forward with aggressive intent. Daichi and Karina stood firm, quickly identifying the attackers' likely magical capabilities and preparing for battle. Karina asked Daichi to handle part of the fight, placing her trust in him without hesitation. Daichi accepted without pause, bracing himself to counter with swift action and focused resolve. Daichi prepared for the fight, claiming he could handle both enemies, but Karina advised restraint. Despite her warning, the attackers charged forward with weapons drawn and confidence high. Moments later, they were defeated, and left crawling in pain on the ground, completely overpowered. Karina reminded them of her earlier warning, while the remaining thugs nervously pretended they had forgotten. Daichi approached calmly, questioning their purpose and confirming they were in town to handle goblins. One man claimed his group officially accepted the goblin hunting request, though others nearby had not. Daichi questioned them further, asking exactly how many goblins they had taken down. One by one, the men admitted their parties had killed none at all. Another group had claimed 11 kills, which raised suspicion in Daichi's mind. He pressed them for confirmation, and the answer came, yes, they were sure it was 11. Daichi asked for details about the party that claimed to have defeated 11 goblins. He shifted the question to another bystander, when the first hesitated to respond. The man explained the party's roles, including water, healing, and offensive magic. He added that 2 wore enchanted gear, while another specialized in offensive spells. Daichi acknowledged the team's balance, noting their success was believable, yet still felt suspicious. Daichi asked who had accepted the goblin subjugation request for Toreno village. One group stepped forward. They claimed they found no goblins for 10 days and left unharmed, despite the village being attacked. Daichi noted their luck, while the mage's party confirmed they had arrived days before the attack. He questioned the scale of their battle, eager to uncover more about the operation. The mage explained they had searched deeper into the forest, suspecting the goblins had relocated. Daichi asked if any goblins had actually appeared during the mage party's forest search. The answer was a calm and clear no, which caused Daichi and Karina to grow suspicious. Wondering what to do next, they considered releasing the parties if they expressed genuine remorse. The adventurers quickly apologized in unison, desperate to avoid further consequences. With a sigh, Daichi decided to report everything to guild leader Klaus and Captain Jeffrey. Daichi analyzed the mage's story. The logic seemed valid, but doubt lingered in his mind like a warning. Suspicion deepened, The mage's overly casual behavior raised concern. Karina informed the guild leader that 2 parties involved in the goblin clearing had stayed in Torino before the bandit attack. The leader asked her opinion. Karina expressed doubt, warning that the mages might be coordinating false accounts. The leader agreed, stressing caution with all involved. They identified Lord Asakura as the one who uncovered the information, possibly through the stall he had opened. The leader admitted he planned to investigate later but was outpaced. Karina regretted not stopping Asakura. They wondered if adventurers noticed. His tactic had fooled everyone. Suspicion stirred as Asakura's inquiries hinted they were prepared for road ambushes, not just village defense. Still, as long as no one questioned too deeply, their intentions remained hidden. The guild leader asked about Asakura's capabilities. The response was direct. His potential seemed limitless. There was no doubt he held knowledge and education far beyond ordinary reach, not just as a mage but in wisdom. His quick mental calculations done without tools left a lasting impression. Even complex contracts posed no challenge. As a merchant, he showed unmatched precision. While practicing magic in the forest, Daichi began by writing equations and calculating distances, catching the guild leader's attention. Karina admitted she couldn't understand or recall the formulas. His method was triangulation, and despite rough data, he explained like a professor. Eventually, Daichi used a strange high-tech tool to measure precisely. The guild leader noted its efficiency, impressed. He speculated Daichi might be of noble or royal descent, noting his composed manner. Still, Karina observed that Daichi had a habit of treating serious matters lightly, which puzzled the leader. Karina reflected on Asakura's behavior, noting how he often acted impulsively, forcing others to manage the consequences. Despite this, she proposed they elevate their treatment of him perhaps as royalty in disguise, or an air of significance. She pointed to his item box, containing rare and astonishing goods. In their country, only the elite possessed such magic. His ability to adapt, solve problems, and display refined knowledge suggested deep sophistication beyond ordinary means. Yet, if his tools were carelessly released, they could disrupt the country's balance entirely. Karina speculated that if Asakura were truly foreign royalty with superior magic, his influence would be beyond measure. The guild leader teased her, suggesting her noble lineage might push her to secure his favor at any cost. Shocked, Karina lashed out, demanding an explanation. While the guild leader calmly sipped his drink, she reminded him sternly that her kingdom's current instability was no laughing matter. The guild leader retracted, claiming it was only a joke. Still, he admitted that Asakura's inventions alone could stir both political factions to chase him. Karina warned that whichever faction secured Asakura would gain immense power, but an even greater threat would be if a foreign nation claimed him first. Hearing this, the guild leader resolved they must treat Asakura with the utmost respect and honor. Elsewhere, Asakura noticed 2 companions following him again and questioned their presence casually. One teased him flirtatiously, saying it's better to be around familiar faces. Asakura relaxed, realizing her intent was simple. She joked about replacing Dennis if needed, while he nervously objected to being offered up so easily. Asakura assured them he was fine with Dennis joining, brushing off the joke about choosing someone prettier. Karina explained the plan to ambush bandits by pretending to be drunk. With Asakura's blessing, Dennis could drink freely, much to his delight. Karina noted that both Dennis and Frida were B-rank mages, skilled in both ranged and close combat, placing them on par with her. Asakura guessed they might surpass her in offensive magic, especially if they used fire-based spells. Frida and Dennis responded humbly, noting Beltram's guards were mostly higher than D rank, so they didn't feel particularly special. Asakura questioned the strength of Beltram's guards. Dennis admitted they seemed average, but had more skill than expected. Karina joked that Dennis could distract enemies with area magic, allowing the rest to escape safely if needed. Asakura realized Dennis's role was essentially a decoy. Dennis and Frida laughed, fully embracing the idea. As they approached the tavern, Karina ended the banter. Nike, the cat, let out a loud meow from Asakura's shoulder, concerned. A girl asked if Nike disliked taverns. Asakura, surprised, turned his attention to the uneasy feline. Asakura suspected Nike had sensed something unusual in the tavern, perhaps the shady men from before. Karina confirmed it was just her instincts. Dennis confidently led the group inside. Karina remarked that if it was only those adventurers, they had nothing to fear. Inside the tavern, noisy laughter filled the air. People ate and drank, unaware of the group's cautious arrival. Scanning the crowd, Karina stepped forward with narrowed eyes, immediately surveying the room with purpose. She quickly located their targets, confirming the presence of the suspicious group they were hoping to find. Nike was praised for detecting the wounded group. Their visible injuries confirmed they hadn't fully recovered, making them easy targets. Asakura questioned the delay in their healing, recalling they had a water mage capable of restoring wounds in minutes, yet they remained injured. Realizing the plan to fake drinking was no longer necessary, the group dropped the act. Dennis, disappointed, mourned the absence of actual booze. He was encouraged to buy some and wait outside. Instead, spirits lifted slightly, but his craving lingered. The group watched quietly as the suspicious adventurers exited the village and disappeared into the woods. Karina pointed out that if the group was just meeting a contact, there was no reason to go deep into the woods. They could have exchanged letters or met at the edge of the forest. Something didn't add up. From behind cover, the group observed while Karina used wind magic to search. The enemy would likely report the escort's unexpected strength. Suddenly, Frida sensed movement. She alerted the group to people hiding in the grass nearby. With tension rising, they crept closer, hoping to overhear the enemy's plans before it was too late. Listening carefully, the group learned the hidden men had overheard details about the village watch's movements. Dennis and Frida explained it was common for such adventurers to interact with the watch when dealing with goblins. They clarified that goblins only became a threat when grouped. As long as elites weren't involved, low-ranking adventurers were enough. Asakura suspected the situation wasn't that simple. A larger force might be needed if more goblins appeared. He recognized a familiar pattern: weak threats used to lower defenses, just like what had happened in Torino. A diagram revealed the bandits' strategy: lure goblins, stir panic, infiltrate adventurer groups, and assess the village before attacking Asakura. And the group realized the bandits were advised to avoid the Beltram convoy, and instead hit the opposite side. Karina clarified that the enemy wasn't aware of the trap, they were just proceeding cautiously to avoid suspicion. At Asakura's request, Frida used magic to amplify nearby voices. He listened carefully, straining to catch pieces of conversation. The eavesdropped dialogue revealed their unease: Beltram's convoy wasn't moving, and the village watch had started acting strangely. Asakura suggested Alicia use wind magic to eavesdrop on the bandits, who were puzzled by the Beltram convoy's presence in the village. The bandits speculated the convoy was spooked by the attack on Torino, a village they had previously raided. With a smug expression, one of them recalled how they had slaughtered everyone during that ambush without resistance. Frustration grew as the convoy remained stationary. One asked for a plan, while another warned things could get complicated if Beltram didn't leave. Surprisingly, they saw an opportunity instead. If the guild leader was present, this raid could surpass their last. The group listened in as some bandits debated the threat level. One insisted the village's defenses were too strong. Despite warnings, others mocked the concern, noting only 2 enemies had shown strength, one being a B-rank mage. Confidence rose as they revealed their side held 5 B-rank mages, causing visible concern among the listeners. Karina acknowledged the balance of power. A clash against equally skilled opponents now seemed inevitable. Tension spread through the group as 5 powerful B-rank mages approached. Daichi silently assessed the situation, recognizing the group's overconfidence. Cautious, a scarred man advised holding back. Their enemies were too unpredictable. Even from afar, their presence stirred unease in seasoned fighters. Recollecting a past encounter, the man remembered the strange abilities used. One fighter had cast unfamiliar magic that defied explanation, despite assuming it was simple earth magic. He realized he'd been shot with condensed lead, a technique he'd never seen before. Even with enchanted gear, the shot pierced through. Such overwhelming strength was rare, and Daichi's smug confidence revealed he knew exactly who was behind it. The group recalled past injuries, mocking how others underestimated the same boy. Multiple victims had already lost limbs because of him. Despite the bravado, they recognized a pattern: the attackers in the village were clearly low-ranked. Orders were issued to regroup and contact reinforcements in the cave. Their leader dismissed the situation with indifference, setting a deadline for the next move. Behind the laughter, tension remained. Nearby, 2 hidden allies observed silently. With a signal, they withdrew from the tall grass, preparing for what was next. The forest grew quiet. The cave loomed ahead, concealed among dense trees, waiting for the next confrontation to begin. Inside the cave, a gathering of mercenaries and warriors formed around the cracked stone wall, their tension unspoken but clear. Doubt grew as reports spread Alan's squad had failed miserably. The brat and his guard ally had shattered their confidence. Only the girl had a visible mage ID, but those present knew the boy was the real threat. Even Alan's men feared him more than a B-rank mage. With uncertainty hanging in the air, the group awaited Joseph's decision. Silence lingered before anyone dared to speak. Concerns about the Beltram company were raised, but others insisted their numbers were enough to win, if overconfidence didn't doom them first. A heated exchange broke out. Concerns over the enemy's B-rank mage were met with prideful defiance. Tension among the group grew. The leader finally snapped, silencing the bickering with a sharp command. Discipline returned, if only for the moment. Elsewhere, a strategist calmly assessed the situation. The movement of the village watch hinted at greater involvement, possibly drawing the Beltram Company's attention. The possibility of a trap began to surface. The leader listened, piecing together the implications behind the calm warning. With the guild leader's convoy nearby and the target's reputation for justice, a coordinated ambush seemed not only likely but already in place. As strategic positions were discussed, the enemy noted the Beltram Company's camp near the south gate, while the village watch focused on the north. They planned to attack from the north, baiting the Beltram forces into a reaction just as Alan's group had assumed would happen. While some suggested looting quickly, others debated eliminating the watch entirely to maximize their plunder, even if it meant risking more. One man, thinking ahead, warned of possible reinforcements and traps, suspecting the enemy had already planned for a confrontation. Driven by greed, others pressed to take everything, people, goods, and convoy cargo, all in one bold strike, unaware of the dangers waiting. Doubt crept into the room. The mention of a B-rank mage and the strength of the Beltram convoy stirred concern among the group. Their leader turned to Peter, demanding his judgment, while others questioned the shaken reports from Alan's squad. Peter advised against direct confrontation, acknowledging their enemy's strength. He emphasized minimizing losses and avoiding reckless engagement. He proposed a strategy: if an attack was necessary, it must be swift and unexpected. The element of surprise would be their edge. With calm confidence, he detailed the plan: strike the north side first, eliminate the village watch quickly, and open the path forward. The group debated scenarios. If the watch defended the village directly, they'd be distracted an opportunity to strike where it hurt most. Peter warned them not to assume favorable reactions. The village watch was cautious and likely to secure the civilians early. Others insisted they'd still have to deal with the convoy afterward, thinking a divided defense would be easier to exploit. Peter dismissed that logic, calling them foolish. He knew the enemy wouldn't split forces carelessly. Instead, their defense would buy time enough for the Beltram convoy to respond and complicate any attack. Some proposed a quick raid, steal valuables, and escape before the Beltram convoy arrived, avoiding direct conflict entirely. Peter sighed. The problem wasn't the plan, it was the people. He knew some would get greedy and linger too long. Overconfident, others laughed it off and planned a southern ambush, convinced they could erase all traces and strike unnoticed. Peter warned that facing the convoy head-on from the south would be tougher than any fight with the village watch. He emphasized once more, a direct fight would be suicide. If anything, they needed a surprise, no confrontation, just a precise strike. Peter cheerfully declared they'd reached the same ambush strategy, catching others off guard with his sudden enthusiasm. He laid out assumptions: enemy units would likely defend both the south and village center, requiring cautious coordination. Their true objective was to break the village watch's morale. A north gate assault, supported from within, would leave villagers vulnerable. With the Beltram unit distracted or defeated, looting the village would become effortless before reinforcements could arrive. In simple terms, Peter made it clear the plan's core was to eliminate the village watch swiftly and completely. Joseph suddenly realized the entire plan they'd been discussing was a fabrication. Peter confirmed with a grin it was all leaked on purpose. The room fell silent as Peter prepared to reveal the true strategy. Intrigued, Joseph and the others urged him to continue. Meanwhile, a meeting unfolded elsewhere. Urgency gripped the town hall as fists hit tables and decisions were forced into motion. Reports detailed the bandits' attack on Torino village, prompting officials to coordinate efforts with the Takura town hall for a united defense. The agenda focused on 2 points: strengthening defenses before the knights arrived, and establishing better intelligence gathering moving forward. Over a casual meal, the group confirmed the town had accepted their proposed plan. Defenses were set, with the Beltram Company guarding the south and adventurers at the north. Strategically, the main force would remain near the village center, ready to respond from either direction or scale the walls if needed. The Beltram Company also advised relocating southern villagers to safety. Suspicious adventurers were placed with the watch to monitor them discreetly. Reassured, the leaders committed to the plan, prepared to shoulder the burden of frontline combat. With no better alternative from the village council, they took charge, knowing their strategy was now the only line of defense. With preparations finalized, the group rose from their meeting. Their next stop was with the guild leader to confirm the operation. Guild leader Klaus reviewed their plan and gave the order everything would proceed as discussed. Without delay, Daichi outlined the strategy. He, along with Alicia, Karina, Dennis, and Frida, would lead the southern assault under Klaus's command. Meanwhile, the most mobile unit, led by Captain Jeffrey, would remain at the village center, ready for a swift counterattack. Alone at camp, Daichi examined his weapon. He doubted if even a Desert Eagle could break through the enemy's magical defenses. Daichi reviewed his options, knowing he couldn't identify the B-rank mages easily. Randomly attacking wouldn't work. He considered alternate tactics assault rifles and sedative gas. Anti-material rifles would deal with tougher foes from a distance. While testing equipment, Daichi received a transmission. Shocked, he realized the earlier strategy had been a decoy. The true enemy was the Beltram Company. Daichi pushed aside distractions, now focused on uncovering and stopping the enemy's hidden plan. Daichi listened to the intercepted message. The enemy's words revealed the village attack was a decoy. Their real objective was hidden. They aimed to strike the Beltram convoy, with its forces split. This rare opportunity allowed them to seize valuable cargo and capture the guild leader. Among the group, a few confirmed they had seen the guild leader before. Identification during the operation wouldn't be a problem. To mislead the defenders, they planted a fake plan about attacking the village watch, ensuring it would reach the right ears. The enemy calculated correctly. Reinforcements would focus on the village center, leaving the convoy exposed and vulnerable. The group anticipated strong resistance. The enemy's elite troops were stationed near the convoy, close to the guild leader, skilled in both tactics and one-on-one combat. Despite the odds, the infiltrators remained confident. With a calm gaze and unified resolve, they assured each other they could handle the operation, including confronting the boss himself. As tension built, they exchanged sharp remarks, half joking, but fully alert. They knew this mission would test their strength more than any previous fight. Their opponents, seeing only 5 men, underestimated them. Confidence surged among the defenders, believing the numbers favored them. But the infiltrators revealed their true edge. They were not ordinary fighters. They were trained, disciplined, and lethal, active-duty military. As an extra precaution, the strategists decided to deploy additional members to strengthen their odds. The group gathered silently in a hidden chamber, prepared for the signal. Shadows moved with quiet anticipation. They debated whether to unleash their trump card early. Choosing safety over hesitation, they decided not to take chances. A plan was finalized. A false message would be sent to Alan's squad, claiming a midnight attack at the north entrance. The decoy was prepared with detailed information. With everything in place, they set the operation time tomorrow night. The real strike would begin. Daichi received a transmission confirming the enemy's approach. The village would be attacked soon, just as anticipated. A companion arrived with urgent news. Captain Jeffrey had obtained information about the assault. Daichi was ordered to report to the guild leader immediately. Inside the command tent, a letter had already been delivered. Its contents would determine their next move. With a firm voice, the guild leader declared that the bandits would launch their attack that very night. Everyone prepared for battle. The letter revealed critical intel. Captured adventurers had carried messages to enemy infiltrators, exposing the village's defensive placement. The guild leader revealed the enemy's main objective: destroy the village watch with full force from the north. It became clear that the bandits intended to eliminate threats one at a time. After the village watch, their next target would be the main camp. Daichi and the others questioned the enemy's precision. The strategy seemed too structured, more like trained military tactics than those of ordinary bandits. Without delay, orders were issued. The mobile unit would reinforce the village watch. Daichi's team was sent to the north to strike back. While some moved to the front lines, others remained to protect the guild, determined to hold their ground. The guild leader reassured everyone that the guild had capable personnel who could defend themselves if necessary. A proposal was made to leave Karina behind for extra protection. With her guarding the guild, the others could focus on reinforcing the village. Daichi realized this was a mistake. Intelligence revealed that 5 B-rank mages were among the enemy, and holding Karina back would weaken their main force. Urgently, Daichi rushed to alert guild leader Klaus. The risk of splitting their strength was too great to ignore. He warned that leaving the south undefended could lead to disaster. The situation required immediate reconsideration. Daichi declared that everything happening was part of the enemy's design. He activated a recording device on the table, grabbing everyone's attention. The playback revealed a shocking truth: the enemy had intentionally leaked the false plan to bait the Beltram Company into a trap. As the voices played, the guild leader and others finally understood. Daichi's evidence proved the enemy's deception was deeper than expected. The recording likely exposed the real strategy. Some listened calmly, while others braced themselves, realizing the threat was far more organized. Though confused by the device, the guild leader focused on what mattered: the urgent need to act before it was too late. Daichi revealed that the enemy's conversation had taken place recently. The bandits were already approaching from the forest south of the village. Alarmed by the urgency, he shouted a warning. The enemy had arrived. Reports came in quickly. Conflict had erupted at the north gate. A signal flare confirmed the enemy's aggressive move. With tension rising, Daichi stood firm. While others hesitated, he declared he had a plan to counter the attack. His strategy was simple: turn the enemy's tactics against them. A direct response using their own deception would shift the tide. The plan was to strike the bandits from both flanks during their approach from the south. To succeed, they had to appear as if still following the enemy's expectations. A decoy group of guards and disguised civilians would move toward the north gate, drawing attention away from the real move. Meanwhile, the guild leader would remain visible in the square, serving as bait to maintain the illusion. Daichi's team of 5 would leave quietly and set up an ambush, prepared to launch a surprise attack from the rear. Even if their attack failed, it would still buy the guild leader time to retreat safely. As the bandits advanced, the team debated whether to recall troops from the north. Daichi reminded them no plan was without risk. Even with the enemy's mages, the Beltram forces could likely hold. If needed, they could intercept the enemy at the village center, buying time for support. Confidence sparked, but the suggestion didn't convince everyone. Not all concerns were tactical. Some doubted the guild leader would agree. Others felt the plan overlooked deeper implications beyond combat. Daichi clarified, letting bandits into the center unchecked would shift their goal from attack to abduction. Daichi warned that letting the bandits enter would risk more than just the guild leader. They might take remaining villagers as hostages. When asked about their chances against the enemy's main force, Daichi calmly responded that he had a secret weapon. Skepticism followed. Could his hidden asset truly defeat 60 bandits and multiple B-rank mages? With confidence, Daichi declared he would neutralize every enemy and capture them alive, shocking everyone in the room. Despite his certainty, concern grew. His comrades believed he was underestimating the threat and taking the situation too lightly. The others remained skeptical. Capturing bandits alive sounded even more unrealistic than defeating them outright. Proof was demanded. Daichi admitted he couldn't demonstrate it immediately, but revealed his trump card, a concealed secret weapon. Later, as the squad regrouped outside the village, Daichi noted how guild leader Klaus had hesitated to include Alicia in the strike team. But Alicia reasoned logically her destructive magic was best used away from civilians. Her calm argument won Klaus over. As night approached, Daichi grew cautious. Judging from others' reactions, Alicia's attack magic had a wide and powerful range. Daichi explained his backup plan. If rendering the enemy powerless failed, he would use an assault rifle. He told the others to retreat if things became too dangerous. Alicia, smiling, volunteered to stay behind and help with the mowing down, showing no hesitation. Karina refused to retreat either, insisting she'd stay until backup was needed and would drag Daichi out herself if necessary. Though Daichi acted relaxed, the others reminded him that magic skill wasn't enough. Experience and caution were equally important. Karina emphasized the hard truth. Overconfidence had ended many talented mages. Daichi had to stay sharp. Daichi quoted an old saying from his world: knowing both yourself and the enemy removes fear from any number of battles. Though some struggled to grasp the meaning, others admired his insight. He clarified, with accurate knowledge of both sides, even constant conflict could be endured. Their plan relied on that very principle. By using the enemy's strategy against them, they could achieve swift capture. Despite understanding his logic, Karina called him out. His plan, though clever, still reeked of recklessness. Daichi sensed their doubt. Lacking experience, he feared they saw him as just a naïve, privileged outsider. Daichi felt no fear. Though inexperienced in real combat, his knowledge from books and strategy guides gave him confidence. As the enemy approached, the team prepared. Karina ordered Alicia to strengthen herself with magic as they closed in. Daichi observed the distance. The enemies were almost in range, but something felt wrong. There were more than expected. From the shadows, 6 massive king apes emerged, joining the advancing bandits, complicating the planned ambush. Daichi's party stood firm as a mob of armed bandits surged forward, beasts snarling behind them. Tension rose as masked enemies charged with overwhelming numbers. In the midst of chaos, Daichi and his allies exchanged sharp glances. The threat wasn't just men, it was the king apes that worried them. One girl sensed the truth: 66 bandits and 6 controlled beasts. Daichi realized this wasn't just a random attack, it was a tactical assault. Klaus urged retreat, gauging the enemy's strength. The sheer count had shaken their confidence, but Daichi stepped forward, charged with resolve. He had a plan and he would hold the line. Daichi remained calm, confident in his plan. He declared that more enemies simply meant he'd use more firepower. His optimism startled the others. Alicia surprised the group by stepping forward. She chose to stay with Daichi, catching the others off guard with her decision. She explained her magic was limited near the village, but her physical enhancements were enough to fight. Her cheerful tone clashed with the tense moment. Karina tried to reassert control, but Alicia's quick calculation of the enemy's distance left no room for delay. With retreat no longer possible, Karina ordered the team into formation. They prepared to face the enemy head, and Dennis and Frida accepted the plan. With blades ready, they acknowledged their trust in Daichi's judgment without hesitation. Daichi stood firm and optimistic, signaling the enemy's approach distance. The gap closed 600 meters, the countdown had begun. At 500 meters, Daichi gave the next signal. Everyone locked eyes, tension mounting. Alicia and the others readied their positions. Daichi knelt and concentrated. He lifted 4 fingers, his calm gestures masking the storm about to unfold. The team stood by, alert. The enemy drew nearer. Daichi lowered a finger. 3. The bandits were in sight, and the battle was moments away from erupting. As the bandits closed to 200 meters, Daichi's nerves spiked. He questioned whether his timing would hold if his strategy failed. Without hesitation, he triggered the plan. A volley of stun grenades launched skyward, scattering above the enemy ranks. A blinding flash burst across the field. The explosion of light and sound disrupted the advancing force, halting their momentum instantly. Daichi watched carefully, peeking from cover. Confident the impact had landed, he reached for his next move, staying composed. On the battlefield, chaos erupted. Enemies clutched their eyes and ears, disoriented. The plan had worked. Daichi's trap struck first. The dust settled. Bandits lay incapacitated across the field. Daichi raised his hand slightly, uncertain if it was truly over. As his allies confirmed the fallen enemies, Karina looked toward Daichi in disbelief. His actions left even his team confused. Without fuss, Daichi casually instructed them to secure the bandits. His composure clashed with the astonishment in their eyes. To ensure no one escaped, Daichi prepared another device, this time a net. The team watched as he calmly initiated the next step, but before he could finish, a loud roar shook the air. A monstrous king ape lunged from behind Daichi's moment of peace, vanished instantly. The king ape charged furiously, smashing through debris with wild force. Daichi barely reacted in time as its massive frame loomed closer. Karina and the others shouted for Daichi to retreat. The threat was too close, and they weren't ready to risk his safety. Even Alicia urged him to fall back, as the ape's rampage grew more erratic. Confusion spread. The beast didn't even seem to recognize friend from foe, but Daichi stood firm. He signaled he was fine and turned to face the beast directly, his eyes locked with resolve. With fire in his grasp, another ally stepped in, launching an explosive counter. The king ape was engulfed in flames mid-charge. Karina slashed fiercely at the king ape, her sword cutting deep. The beast reeled but held its ground with unnatural endurance. The team realized the danger. These apes were wearing enchanted gear. Even flames couldn't pierce their defenses. Frida missed her strike, leaving Daichi directly in the monster's path. With no time left, the ape charged again. Daichi remained calm. He stepped forward and declared he'd handle it, activating a hidden device with precision. In an instant, Daichi unleashed his power. The beast stumbled under the force, halted mid-charge as Daichi stood unshaken. Daichi confirmed the anti-material rifle's power. It could kill the king apes. Without hesitation, he vowed to handle the rest himself. As another ape charged, Daichi prepared. Karina stood ready, watching him closely as the monster closed the distance. A well-placed shot tore into the ape's chest. The enchanted armor failed to protect it. Shock filled its wide eyes. Everyone paused. One shot had been enough. Karina stared in disbelief as Daichi reloaded calmly, eyes sharp and focused. Another beast appeared in the distance. But now, they knew Daichi was more than ready. Daichi remained composed as another king ape fell. With only 3 left, his focus sharpened. He assessed the situation. The enchanted gear was tougher than expected. Only direct shots through the mouth had any effect. Adjusting his aim, he fired precisely. Another beast staggered from the impact, collapsing under the focused attack. Alicia watched in awe, stunned by Daichi's calm efficiency. While others hesitated, he showed no hesitation in eliminating the threat. Daichi announced 2 enemies remained. In the midst of chaos, he remained collected, commanding the others to secure the bandits while he handled the rest. Daichi calmly prepared his final move. The last king ape growled, its blurry vision locking onto him from a distance. He confirmed it was the last target. As the beast clutched a fallen fighter, Daichi stepped forward with confidence. A sudden magical burst erupted. Multiple fireballs exploded around him, catching everyone off guard. One blast struck Daichi directly. Shock and panic spread through the group as he collapsed, wounded in the final moment. Daichi took a direct hit to the chest, sending him crashing to the ground as his allies watched in shock. The enemy's sudden attack had caught them off guard, wounded. Daichi gritted his teeth and tried to rise. Magic ropes fired from behind him, forcing the enemy to retreat momentarily. The defenders braced themselves. One ally realized the danger escalating fast, panic rising with each step the enemies advanced. Alicia stepped forward, fire magic swirling in both hands. Daichi sensed her intent from the ground, warning bells going off in his mind. Desperate, he shouted to stop her, knowing the cost. Alicia pushed forward without hesitation, shielding Daichi as he tried to recover. Determined, she faced the danger head-on, eyes sharp with resolve. As the situation worsened, an ally called for retreat. Daichi, still injured, was pulled back with Alicia, the group escaping the battlefield together. Once at a safe distance, Daichi checked on Alicia. She reassured him, her enchanted gear having protected her from harm during the clash. Meanwhile, another fighter realized a critical error: he had forgotten to enchant his own gear, frustrated at his own lapse in awareness. Despite his wounds, Daichi insisted on helping the others. Alicia pleaded for him to rest, but he refused, focused on stopping the threat. Alicia leaned over Daichi, determined to treat his injury. Her serious expression silenced his protests as she began healing him. Daichi sat up in disbelief, noticing the wound was completely gone. Confused, he questioned how it healed so quickly. He realized it was Nike, his small companion who had cast high-level water magic. The cat's power could mend even severe injuries instantly. Alicia was stunned by the revelation. She hadn't expected Daichi's ally to possess such rare, powerful magic. Daichi remained modest, downplaying his skills, but urgency returned. The fight with the bandits wasn't over yet. Daichi observed as Karina and Frida launched a coordinated strike, pushing the enemy forces back with precision. Despite impairments, the enemy mages used magic to track their targets. Their reaction time showed they were B-rank combatants, skilled and dangerous. Daichi regrouped with his allies, calling out to the others, and assuring them he'd handle what remained. He sprinted forward without hesitation. Concerned for his condition, the others shouted after him. Daichi didn't stop, fully focused on the threat ahead, facing a desperate attacker. Daichi countered without mercy, striking fast and hard to end the fight. One of the attackers was hurled across the battlefield, screaming as a vortex spell launched him skyward with brutal force. In response, two enemy mages formed a barrage of fire spells. The ground shattered under the pressure of their concentrated assault. Daichi charged forward, calmly activating his storage skill mid-air. Magical debris flew around him as he pushed through the chaos. With precise timing, he struck both enemies in close quarters. His blows landed swiftly, giving them no chance to counter. Standing tall, Daichi stared down the last opponents. His weapons glinted, ready for the final confrontation. The ground trembled as a powerful spell detonated. One enemy was blasted backward, while another prepared a retaliatory strike with growing tension. Daichi stepped forward with a precise stance. A phantom image mirrored his movements, channeling energy for a focused magical attack. He unleashed the spell at close range. The enemy's expression twisted in shock as power surged toward him without warning. The blast hit its mark. The force knocked the opponent off his feet, ending the battle. Observers stared in disbelief at Daichi's decisive blow. Afterward, Daichi assured his allies he was fine. With water magic, he had already healed his wound. The fight was over for now. Karina gently checked Daichi's wound, astonished to find it completely healed. The effectiveness of his magic left her speechless. Another ally asked if Alicia had done the healing, only to learn Daichi had restored himself. He downplayed it with a casual smile. Suddenly, Karina erupted, yelling at Daichi for worrying her so much. Embarrassed, he could only apologize. Frida interrupted the moment, reminding them to restrain the remaining bandits. Daichi agreed, prioritizing the task at hand. As the team regrouped, Karina insisted on having a serious talk later. The battle was over, but emotions still ran high. Alicia stepped beside Daichi, quietly expressing that she too was upset. Her voice carried more weight than he expected. Facing him directly, she admitted her frustration. Daichi, stunned, realized the depth of her concern during the battle. She pleaded with him not to scare her again. Daichi apologized, promising to be more careful from now on. As Karina restrained the captured bandits, Daichi reflected on his mistakes. He had spoken confidently before, but lacked full understanding. He acknowledged his failure, forgetting to enchant his gear, underestimating the enemy. His recklessness had nearly cost everything. Daichi reflected on the moment the fireball struck him. The sheer shock of it still sent chills down his spine. a reminder of how close he came to danger. His teammates surrounded him with excitement, amazed at how he had neutralized the enchanted enemies. They praised his quick thinking and power. Daichi admitted his flaws. He got carried away, failed to pace himself, and underestimated the King Ape's strength and the B-rank mages. Despite his humility, the group continued praising him, impressed by how he regained control in a critical moment. Overwhelmed by the attention, Daichi blushed awkwardly. Alicia beamed and cheered him on, urging him to keep improving. Karina acknowledged Daichi's strength but reminded him he had acted recklessly. Another teammate joked that his heroics were almost romantic. Daichi cradled Nike, admitting he owed his survival to the cat. He took full responsibility for his carelessness. Others chimed in, defending his actions. They noted adventurers often conceal their full abilities and praised his magical restraint, despite the danger. Daichi apologized for hiding his strength, but Karina forgave him. The bandits had been successfully restrained, and the crisis was under control. Karina took command, announcing they would escort the captives to the South Village Square with their small 5-member team. Karina warned the captured bandits against resistance, her sharp gaze silencing them instantly. None dared to argue as they nodded in fear. With the threat contained, the group rested. The knights would arrive in 4 days to process the arrests. Until then, the village watch began interrogations. The bandits had staged the scene to look like a goblin infestation. Some prisoners were revealed to be foreigners. Despite suspicions of military ties, no solid evidence linked them to any feudal lord. Guild leader Klaus suggested the attackers were foreign operatives sent to destabilize the border, not common criminals. As the convoy resumed travel, the group left behind tense borderlands. Villagers waved them off with relief, though unease lingered in the air. Daichi yawned while riding, glad for the promise of an inn that night. Alicia informed him that Karam was just ahead. He peeked from the carriage to see a town in the distance. Curious about their destination, Karam, the second largest town near the border, was a prime hub for new merchants. 20 days east lay the commercial city of Byron. Karina announced their schedule. They'd remain in Karam for 10 days before departing for the royal capital. A long journey still awaited them. Karina asked if Daichi had made up his mind. Though Klaus offered to take him to the capital, Alicia had invited him to stay. Daichi smiled, choosing to follow his original plan. He would open a shop in Karam, just as he envisioned. Alicia reminded him of his dream to trade with multiple countries. Karam, at the border, was the perfect place. Daichi acknowledged her words, realizing how far he had come. His dream was beginning to take shape. Karina, supportive as ever, encouraged him warmly. Daichi's journey was only just beginning. Daichi shared his plan to start as a humble street vendor. Karina raised an eyebrow, curious what unusual items he planned to sell. He promised to only offer approved goods. Karina remained suspicious, teasing him about her lack of trust. Jokingly, they compared him to a child. Alicia agreed with a smile, noting how unpredictable he could be. Their playful teasing continued. Daichi admitted he was reckless, while the others insisted even kids had more restraint. Undeterred, Daichi invited them to help him and Alicia set up shop, hoping for guidance and support. Karina agreed to help set up the shop, but only if Daichi bought her sweets. Alicia quickly joined in, smiling brightly at the idea. The group continued through town, chatting cheerfully as Karina rode beside the carriage. Excitement built as they neared their destination. They arrived at a bustling town street near an inn. Daichi stepped out and looked around, taking in the vibrant surroundings. After a good stretch, he felt fully recharged. With Nike perched on his shoulder, he declared himself ready to begin. Elsewhere, a mysterious message on a desk caught someone's attention, hinting at events yet to unfold. A cheerful girl bursts onto the scene, sensing the presence of a new customer. Her enthusiasm fills the air instantly. Daichi extended his hand, sealing a deal that marked the beginning of his journey in a new town. The merchant firmly returned the handshake, confident that Daichi's modern products would thrive in the royal capital's market. After 10 days in Karam, the Beltram convoy departed, leaving behind familiar faces and mixed emotions among the townspeople. A local woman warmly wished Daichi success as he prepared to establish his stall, offering support with a smile and a handshake. Daichi, looking ahead, planned to gain experience here before expanding to the capital, determined to grow step by step. As Daichi pondered his next steps, someone casually suggested Piran, stirring curiosity and concern among the group. The city of Piran, bustling with commerce and controlling key trade routes, stood as the second largest in the kingdom. Daichi considered the idea seriously. Although Piran seemed promising, he admitted the plan was still far off and bid farewell with a cheerful tone. Karina, watching him go, voiced her worry. She knew his ambitions but feared he might take reckless risks without support. Despite her concerns, Daichi remained unfazed, recognizing the truth in her words, yet determined to keep moving forward. Karina recalled past incidents where Daichi acted recklessly, reminding him of his carelessness with bandits and village punks. Daichi tried to lighten the mood, asking for forgiveness while playfully holding up his cat to ease the tension. Despite her teasing, Karina warned him to stay alert, acknowledging his skills, but reminding him that this world remained unfamiliar. Confident, Daichi promised to grow stronger and more dependable, assuring them he would prove his reliability when they met again. As Karina prepared to escort the convoy, she planned for future trade, expecting success from Daichi's products and a swift return. Karina offered a firm handshake, reminding Daichi that she expected him to grow capable in her absence. Before parting, he handed her a bag containing cake, advising her to eat it quickly before it spoiled. The sweet gift drew attention from others nearby, prompting Daichi to assure them he had enough to share. Delighted by the treat, the group suggested adding cake to the product lineup, imagining strong demand across the capital. Despite the enthusiasm, Daichi hesitated, knowing poor storage could risk illness and damage his business's reputation. Concerns about food safety lingered. Everyone agreed that even one noble falling ill could cause chaos and suspicion. With a teasing grin, one of the guards hinted Karina might need to return soon, not just for trade. Suddenly, their departure was announced, catching Karina off guard as she scrambled to prepare. She climbed into the carriage without delay. The wheels began turning, signaling the convoy's journey had officially begun. Waving goodbye, Karina promised to return in 2 months. Daichi, smiling confidently, vowed to become someone unrecognizable by then. With a soft smile, Karina expressed her anticipation, her horse already in motion as she rode off. Daichi watched the convoy disappear before turning back to his tasks, ready to begin his solo venture in Karam. Days passed quickly. Alicia went off on her own errands while Daichi finalized the shop property with the Merchant Guild. Excited, he promised his cat Nike a cozy new home addition, completely forgetting the little one's meows of impatience. Thanks to product deposits and bounty rewards, he had enough funds to settle the property and live comfortably for now. Daichi beamed with joy, thinking how much his life had changed from being jobless to thriving in another world. While exploring the town, he admired the open plaza, moving forward with excitement and spring in his step. He arrived at the Merchant Guild, confident in their reliable support as he prepared to formalize the property deal. Entering the guild building, he greeted everyone inside with energy, his cat meowing softly beside him. Melissa, the sales rep, welcomed him warmly. She guided him upstairs and asked to go over a few final details. Melissa brought up troubling rumors of someone recklessly firing offensive magic in Lint Forest, near the town's south gate. She explained the forest was frequented by beginners and locals, making such behavior dangerous and disruptive. Then, with a knowing smirk, she revealed Daichi had been seen in the area at the time of the incidents. Caught off guard, Daichi admitted to practicing magic, but insisted he had chosen a remote spot to avoid civilians. He quickly added that another person, a girl using wind magic, had also been there, possibly the real cause of suspicion. Melissa hinted that if the offender had been a weak mage, no one would have cared. Her pointed look said otherwise. The real complaint described a blast like thunder and trees being toppled, clearly beyond beginner-level magic. Daichi suddenly remembered he had tested his M32 grenade launcher in the forest, causing the very destruction they mentioned. Surprisingly, Melissa didn't scold him. She only advised caution, though she suspected he wielded power well beyond a novice. Before he could relax, she pulled out another document the next issue involved, selling monster parts and magic stones. Daichi asked for confirmation on selling monster materials and magic stones, casually noting they were just small batches. Melissa exploded with disbelief after reviewing his inventory sheet, clearly unconvinced by his definition of small. The product list labeled everything as a lot, from fangs to fluids, leaving her demanding an explanation. She clarified that bulk materials must go through the Adventurers Guild, not from street-level vendors like him. Even with his new shop, the rule stood. Daichi admitted he skimmed the contract, shocked to learn he'd broken protocol. Daichi asked for clarification on what small amounts meant, realizing he might have misunderstood the local standards. Melissa explained that it referred to minor leftovers from casual hunting trips, barely enough for trading after feeding one's family. Understanding hit him hard. Compared to that, his supply was clearly overkill. Before he could recover, she brought up his failure to register with the Mages Guild, catching him completely off guard. His excuse fell flat. Melissa shouted in frustration, correcting his false assumption that joining one guild excluded all others. Melissa burst into tears, begging Daichi to ask questions next time, instead of acting on his own. Panicking, he quickly promised to consult her before making decisions. Pleading with her to stop crying, she sniffled and wiped her face, slowly calming down while Daichi watched nervously. Suddenly, she muttered about the Mages Guild with glazed eyes, overwhelmed and barely coherent. Realizing the urgency, Daichi offered to register immediately. Melissa weakly insisted they go together, still recovering from her meltdown. Before finalizing the property, Melissa insisted they stop by the Mages Guild, still wiping away her tears. Walking through the streets, she gently scolded Daichi, reminding him that being from another country didn't excuse carelessness. Karina chimed in firmly, urging him to speak up when unsure. Daichi agreed, promising to be more communicative. Melissa threw herself into a dramatic apology, demanding a proper promise. Flustered, Daichi gave his word. Realizing she'd assumed too much about his experience, Melissa took responsibility for the confusion, ready to support him properly. Now Melissa struggled to carry Daichi in embarrassment, insisting they both reflect and escape the crowd's stares quickly. Once hidden in an alley, she checked the surroundings. Daichi sensed something was off, but stayed quiet as told. With a soft laugh, she admitted it was tough walking while everyone was watching them. Now she felt better. Suddenly Daichi handed her a large lollipop, catching her off guard as she blinked in confusion. He proudly explained it was candy from his homeland. Melissa, shocked by the size, questioned if that truly counted as candy. Daichi demonstrated how to eat the candy by licking it, shocking Melissa, who found the act too indecent for public. He enjoyed the sweetness without shame, savoring the taste while she hesitated to follow his lead. Eventually giving in, Melissa was overwhelmed by the flavor, amazed at how refined and delicious it was compared to local sweets. Embarrassed but impressed, she quietly asked how much it would cost, unsure if it was even affordable. Daichi declined payment, telling her it was a gift, just something between the two of them. Melissa reached out for a handshake, accepting Daichi's offer of friendship just as he handed her a pile of candy. Blushing, she hesitated, unsure if it was a bribe. Daichi simply asked her to teach him more from now on, relieved and smiling. Melissa gratefully accepted, hugging the candy with sparkling eyes as Daichi nodded proudly. Internally, he chuckled to himself. Winning her over with sweets had been even easier than expected. With Melissa content, Daichi felt confident again, though he clearly hadn't learned his lesson just yet. Melissa asked if the boy had been entering Lint Forest alone. He confirmed it without hesitation, licking the candy she had just tasted for the first time. She concluded that it made sense. Had he gone with someone from the Beltram company, he wouldn't have caused such a stir. Memories of past incidents flashed in her mind. The boy considered his options. He didn't know anyone else besides Alicia and Melissa. He promised he would go with someone next time, though unsure who. Melissa suggested they check with the Mages Guild. Escort services were often available through the Adventurers Guild for those gathering materials in the forest. She warned that most escorts were low-ranking. The boy expected as much, but was determined to find someone. They resumed walking, candy still in hand. The boy assured Melissa that even low-ranking adventurers could handle the shallow areas of the Lint Forest. She admitted she hadn't worried about it much before either. Curious, he asked if anything strange had occurred in the forest recently. Melissa, after a pause, confirmed something unsettling had indeed happened. Before she could elaborate, a loud noise echoed from the street market, grabbing their attention instantly. Reacting swiftly, the boy charged forward toward the source, determined. Melissa hesitated, surprised by his sudden burst of action. Realizing she was left behind, Melissa sprinted after him, lollipop still in hand. Daichi noticed a sudden shift in the air as footsteps echoed through the narrow street. He pulled the girl beside him to safety, while a group of rough men blocked the path ahead. As they approached the market, the crowd thickened. A tense atmosphere hung around them, with unfamiliar faces eyeing them cautiously. Within the crowd, Daichi spotted an elderly woman. He recognized her instantly and moved toward her. She greeted him casually, recalling the days their stalls stood side by side. Her presence grounded the moment. Despite her calmness, tensions remained. The marketplace had changed. Daichi casually declared a day off, grinning as the old merchant woman looked on, unimpressed by his carefree attitude. He proudly announced his recent success, claiming he'd earned enough to rest for the entire month without concern. His words caught the attention of nearby men. Their smirks hinted at envy as they mocked his success and hinted at taking advantage. Recognizing their type, Daichi drew their focus intentionally. Curious murmurs spread, questioning the newcomer's presence. The woman clarified they weren't merchants, just thugs demanding protection money. Daichi's plan had clearly backfired. The thugs mocked the old woman, turning their attention toward Daichi with veiled threats and smirks. Daichi responded with exaggerated confidence, brushing them off with a grin, unfazed by their intimidation. His words agitated them. One stepped forward, shoving his companion aside and grabbing Daichi's clothes, anger rising. The man leaned in, voice low and dangerous, warning Daichi that his safety now hung in the balance. Without hesitation, he drew a blade to Daichi's chest. The onlookers froze, tension erupting into shocked gasps and fear. Daichi smiled calmly, agreeing that the outcome rested on him. His unexpected composure unsettled his opponent. Tension grew as Daichi noticed the villagers watching. He knew the situation needed to shift before panic spread further. With steady resolve, he tightened his grip and called out, challenging the thug's earlier threat. Without hesitation, Daichi struck first. His fist landed squarely on the attacker's jaw, knocking him off balance. Gasps followed the sudden impact. Daichi stood firm, his clenched fist raised, signaling the confrontation was far from over. Daichi's blow sent multiple attackers crashing backward, their bodies collapsing one after another onto the cobblestones. He turned to regroup, but a sharp cry from behind snapped his attention toward the girl, warning him. A sudden threat was launched toward them, but Daichi watched as an unexpected figure intervened with force. Alicia stepped forward with unwavering focus, her presence halting the chaos momentarily as Daichi called her name. With confident steps, Alicia assessed the scene. The crowd admired her poise, and Daichi's actions had earned their praise. Daichi stood firm, glaring down at the thugs while Alicia stood behind him. His challenge silenced their bravado instantly. Cornered by his confidence, the lead thug denied everything, trembling under the eyes of nearby merchants and villagers. The old merchant praised Daichi's skill, surprised by the true extent of his abilities, her voice filled with approval. Alicia suddenly cried out, running to the older woman and revealing their connection in front of the stunned crowd. Concerned, Alicia scolded her grandmother, who quickly turned the lecture back on her, refusing to be treated like a child. Daichi was stunned to learn that Alicia wasn't just related to the old merchant, she was her great-granddaughter, amazed. Daichi joked about the coincidence, but Alicia turned it on him, teasing him for his earlier actions. She questioned his habit of getting into danger alone. Daichi hesitated, trying to explain away his recklessness. Before he could reply, another girl appeared, calling out his name. Alicia watched curiously as Daichi turned to greet her. With heavy stomps and fierce determination, the new girl charged forward, unaware she was already drawing attention. A guild member arrived breathless, apologizing, and reminding everyone the market was under guild protection. Daichi nodded in understanding. The old woman thanked him warmly, promising to visit later. Daichi modestly insisted it wasn't necessary. Alicia whispered that once her great-grandmother decided something, no one could change her mind. Daichi accepted it with a sigh. When asked about his plans, Daichi explained that he and Melissa were heading to the Mages Guild for business. As they walked, both girls smiling beside him, Daichi wondered silently why things never seemed to go normally for him. Alicia explained that troublemakers posing as adventurers had been increasing over the past month, disrupting peace in the area. Daichi admitted he assumed that kind of behavior was normal, while Melissa confirmed the issue had grown noticeable. They learned the problem wasn't limited to weak adventurers, many intermediate and foreign ones were also involved, blending into the flow of refugees. Daichi realized that if danger struck, these unreliable escorts would abandon clients without hesitation. Worse still, Alicia warned that some might even join the bandits themselves, turning minor threats into serious problems. Daichi realized the guild's growing reliance on shady adventurers could threaten its very reputation and stability. He considered retreating to solo work in the forest, but Alicia warned there were even more serious issues. As they walked, she explained that disappearances had become more frequent lately, dozens of cases reported. The most alarming detail was that the missing people were mostly children, 10, reported just within the last 2 weeks. Alicia lowered her voice. The pattern was clear. These weren't accidents. The children were being kidnapped. Melissa explained that the 10 reported kidnappings likely underrepresented the truth. Cases in slums or orphanages could double that number. Daichi was reminded of his status: wealthy, connected, and highly visible, making him a potential target as well. She added that being a foreigner without family only increased his vulnerability in the current climate. Daichi tried to lighten the mood, proudly declaring his strength, but deep down he understood their concern. Both girls scolded him together, emphasizing that even strong people fall when caught off guard. He shouldn't be alone. Daichi assured the girls he understood the risks, and promised to be careful, though they remained wary. He mentioned needing to visit the Mages Guild before heading into the forest. Alicia explained that bodyguards should be trusted mages. Daichi realized how selective the Mages Guild was. Unlike the Adventurers Guild, it didn't accept just anyone. They confirmed that all legitimate mages must be registered. Alicia excused herself, flustered by Daichi's stare, saying she had errands to handle. Daichi asked who introduced him to the guild. It turned out to be Karina Kirsha, not who he expected. Daichi was shocked to hear Karina, the gluttonous girl he knew, was actually a noble and a rank B mage. He processed the revelation silently, his face shifting from disbelief to quiet resignation. His shock returned full force. How could that same obsessed girl be a count's daughter? Arriving at the Mages Guild, Alicia explained that Karina's status meant Daichi's request for a guard would likely be accepted. The trio stepped inside, greeted by a quiet interior. Alicia cheerfully announced their arrival to the staff within. Daichi entered the guild hall, surprised by how modest it looked. Alicia explained that the Mages Guild valued function over form. She hinted at what lay ahead, leaving Daichi uncertain. Whatever awaited, he'd soon see for himself. Daichi arrived at the Mages Guild, escorted by his companions. The receptionist greeted them as they requested his registration. During the process, the guild staff asked for a letter of recommendation. Daichi looked puzzled, unsure what they meant. After a brief pause, he remembered the sealed envelope. He had carelessly stored it in his item box and forgotten about it. The receptionist opened the letter and froze in shock. It revealed that Lady Karina Kirsha had written the recommendation. Daichi remained calm, while others reacted in disbelief. Karina's name carried unexpected weight. Another letter surfaced, this time not official, but from the guild leader of the prestigious Beltram Company, causing raised eyebrows. The guild clerk reeled in shock upon hearing the name, overwhelmed as more documents were handed over. Additional letters appeared, each signed by respected B-rank mages. One even came directly from the warrior himself, confirming Daichi's growing support. The clerk scanned everything nervously: a noble's daughter, a powerful merchant guild, and 3 seasoned mages all backing one newcomer. Curiosity spread. With whispers rising, the clerk leaned closer and quietly questioned the boy's identity. The clerk leaned in, asking about Daichi's identity. His companion simply deflected the question, keeping things vague. Daichi approached the counter and hesitated while filling out the form. With help from his companions, he left several parts blank. Once completed, he handed the form back. The clerk, rushing to check it, stumbled dramatically while trying to remain composed. Recovering quickly, the clerk apologized for the delay and politely thanked Daichi for his patience while reviewing the details. Just then, a fluffy cat appeared. The clerk stared in awe, confused by the unusual breed and its sudden presence. The fluffy cat sat quietly, its presence oddly intense. The clerk, clearly unsettled, called it adorable but couldn't shake the tension. Still flipping through paperwork, the clerk was again startled. The situation was becoming increasingly confusing. The cat began to float midair, drawing skeptical looks. Daichi casually dismissed the behavior, insisting it was just a normal kitty. His companion whispered a logical explanation: no powerful group would travel with a monster. The clerk, convinced, nodded in agreement. Trying to refocus, the clerk returned to Daichi's application, but now, he hesitated, unsure what he was truly dealing with. The clerk examined the form. It was barely filled, only a name, age, and a mention of the cat. Daichi claimed inconvenient details were best left out. Trying to remain polite, Daichi submitted the form. His companion looked irritated, while the clerk sighed deeply and accepted it. Whispers stirred behind the counter. Questions arose about Daichi's missing nationality and birthplace, which even travelers usually disclosed. Pressed for answers, his companion deflected the interrogation, suggesting they ask Daichi directly. The clerk hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Overwhelmed by Daichi's high-profile endorsements, the clerk finally snapped. There was no way he could question someone with that kind of backing. Frustrated, Daichi's companion snapped at the clerk, demanding he stop nitpicking and just accept the registration. Reluctantly defeated, the clerk agreed. The registration would be processed as it stood, and confetti marked the moment's end. As Daichi turned to request the transfer of the store, the clerk interrupted in surprise, wondering if things were truly concluded. With a nervous smile, the clerk asked if he might witness Daichi's magic just once as part of the process. Daichi agreed, and the clerk directed him to the courtyard, expecting to observe a display of non-elemental magic firsthand. Daichi asked if his companions could join. With a casual nod, the clerk agreed, and the group eagerly headed out together. As they stepped into the courtyard, its sheer size left Daichi stunned. The vast space was more than he expected. Looking around in awe, Daichi began to understand the practicality of the area. It was clearly built for magic demonstrations. Though one companion had never seen the place herself, she excitedly admitted she had only heard tales until now. The clerk explained the process ahead, first testing gear enchantments, followed by a light spar to assess Daichi's physical enhancement. Alan, the examiner, stepped forward, sword in hand, ready for the spar. The group observed from above, Daichi questioned if his opponent was a swordsman. The clerk clarified Alan used non-elemental magic like Daichi. Despite appearances, Alan greeted Daichi warmly. Though confident, Daichi admitted he had no experience with swords and was only equipped for formality. The two exchanged names. Daichi requested a light touch, while Alan encouraged him to come at full strength without hesitation. The clerk praised Alan's achievements reaching B rank solely with non-elemental magic. While impressive to others, Daichi remained unfazed by the revelation. Daichi was handed a longsword and instructed to slice through several wooden pillars, using only his gear enchantment. He took the weapon in hand. The clerk reassured him that success wasn't mandatory. He just needed to try his best. Cheered on by his companions, Daichi stood ready, focused and calm. He prepared for the first strike. Alan and the clerk signaled him to begin. Daichi's target was clear the wooden pillar to his left. Channeling physical enhancement, Daichi dashed forward with intensity. His eyes locked in, his body moved with sharpened precision. Daichi's sword sliced clean through the pillar. Both Alan and the clerk looked on in shock at his sharp precision. The crowd erupted in cheers. His companions shouted in excitement, thrilled by his unexpected skill. Without pausing, Daichi launched into the next strike. His form tightened, movements fluid, slicing through the second pillar with ease. As wood flew, his team watched with admiration. Each swing was stronger and faster, drawing wide-eyed amazement. Finishing his run, Daichi climbed atop a column and dropped into a powerful finishing blow. The ground rumbled as the pillar shattered beneath him. Daichi looked satisfied as the final pillar collapsed. His training with Karina and the others had clearly paid off. His companions celebrated excitedly. They praised his power, amazed that even a wooden sword could slice with such force. Daichi casually turned to the clerk, announcing his completion. Alan and the clerk stood speechless, processing what they had seen. The clerk snapped out of it and demanded an explanation, shocked by the destruction. Daichi had obliterated all the pillars. Daichi shrugged. He explained that he was only following instructions, and may have gotten a little carried away. The clerk panicked upon realizing Daichi had cut even the iron pillar with a wooden sword. Daichi replied casually, saying he just added a vertical cut for fun. The clerk yelled in frustration. Daichi insisted he was just following instructions, and his companions backed him up with teasing agreement. The clerk clarified each pillar had a designated sword. Daichi, holding the wooden one, remained unfazed by the mistake. Daichi pointed out that he still succeeded. With no real issue to resolve, he asked if the sparring match was next. Alan informed Daichi that the examiner had retreated to cry, overwhelmed. The group looked on, half amused, half sympathetic. Daichi asked what came next. The clerk could barely respond, overwhelmed by everything that had just happened. Alan suddenly roared out, Daichi's rank C rank. His tone was loud, final, and left little room for questions. Though surprised, Daichi accepted it. He reasoned that being underestimated at C rank might work to his advantage. The clerk scrambled to formalize it, nervously declaring they would proceed with registering him as C rank right away. As Daichi approached, the clerk fidgeted. When Nike the cat came close, he collapsed in fear. Embarrassed, he admitted weakness at the knees. Daichi received his official C rank tag, holding it with a mix of reflection and uncertainty. His stomach growled, and he admitted the process had taken far longer than expected. Melissa blushed at the suggestion of food. With the time already past noon, they agreed to delay the property handover. Lulled by his companions, Daichi rushed toward a nearby shop. They chose to eat first, before resuming anything official. The bustling market overflowed with fresh produce, grilled meat, and eager customers. Among them, Daichi inspected the goods carefully, selecting high-quality items. Later his companions beamed with delight, savoring their meal. The rich flavors brought wide smiles, each bite met with silent approval. They strolled through the crowded stalls, chewing happily. Vendors called out, offering fruits, bread, and skewers. Daichi led the way, guiding them toward new finds. Hands full, they shared food while walking. Every bite brought more satisfaction, the lively atmosphere enhancing their enjoyment. As they paused, one girl suggested visiting one last shop. Daichi nodded, already anticipating another tasty discovery. The group approached a corner of the market where an outdoor stall was managed by orphans under the guidance of a local church. Fiona pointed it out cheerfully. Spotting a familiar figure, she dashed forward excitedly, calling out. A nun turned slowly, revealing her name Marissa. The conversation shifted to introductions and curiosity. Daichi asked about the nun, learning that Fiona knew her well. They arrived just after lunch had ended. Joking remarks stirred playful chatter among the children. Fiona teased about Marissa possibly having a lover. The nun tried to keep her composure while the kids laughed around her. Despite their teasing, she responded calmly, hiding a faint smile. Daichi tried to greet the children politely, but teasing and laughter broke out. They joked about Marissa being dumped. Marissa firmly denied the rumors, stating she neither had a lover nor was played. She bowed apologetically for the children's remarks. Fiona quickly explained to Daichi that the noisy group were orphans raised at the church. The children greeted him with cheerful energy. Introductions followed. Daichi was identified as a merchant and guest of the guild. His companion, Arya, was noted as a skilled magician. Finally, Marissa was introduced as a childhood friend and current priestess. Fiona beamed beside her, clinging proudly while Marissa reacted with mild embarrassment. Daichi introduced himself formally to Fiona and Alicia. As he extended his hand, Fiona suddenly yanked away, flustered. Marissa hesitated, overwhelmed by the handshake. After a tense pause, she grasped Daichi's hand tightly, then requested to purchase all remaining goods at once. The request surprised everyone. The nearby children whispered among themselves, amused. Marissa's hands trembled slightly as Daichi stood confused. Fiona rushed in, embarrassed, explaining that Marissa was extremely shy and prone to overreacting in social situations. Without waiting for clarification, the group pulled Daichi away, leaving his protests behind as they continued their walk. Fiona slumped in frustration, blaming herself for hastily pulling Daichi away before he could properly interact. Marissa quietly explained that Fiona's reactions stemmed from a painful past. She had developed a fear of men after being persistently pursued. Daichi, realizing the situation, stood up and respectfully acknowledged the boundaries, promising not to act impulsively. He suggested they return and clear things up, expressing his regret for frightening Fiona and wanting to sincerely apologize. Fiona hesitated, then nodded. With encouragement from the others, she agreed to trust him and slowly move forward. As Daichi prepared to act, the atmosphere shifted. A child cried nearby, drawing everyone's attention. At the stall, several rough-looking men mocked the orphans, questioning their competence. Fiona watched, furious. Realizing the children were in danger, Daichi stepped forward, moving quickly through the crowd. He questioned the frequency of thugs like them. Fiona confirmed they had been appearing more often in recent months, spreading like pests. A large influx of adventurers had poured in from neighboring towns. Many, lacking discipline and status, roamed the streets unchecked, creating a growing problem. Daichi closely observed the thugs. Their gear was cheap and poorly maintained, confirming their lack of discipline. He recalled his arrival in town, noting the sudden rise in questionable adventurers with shoddy equipment. Fiona reminded him not to judge by appearance alone. Acknowledging her point, Daichi agreed not to jump to conclusions, though he remained cautious. He suspected Marissa viewed him as carefree and overly optimistic. Turning to his feline companion, Nike, he gave a light pat, acknowledging the potential for upcoming conflict. With Nike resting calmly on his shoulder, Daichi regained focus, confident in the strength of his most trusted partner. One of the older children stood protectively in front of the stall, shouting at the thugs to leave. His defiance only provoked them further. Elsewhere, shady men casually discussed the town's rising number of missing orphaned children, implying a darker trade hidden beneath the surface. Marissa apologized formally for the children's outburst, requesting forgiveness. Her calm tone masked growing tension. The thugs grew louder. Frightened children clung together, crying. Marissa tried to comfort them, urging them not to panic. Just as a thug reached toward Marissa, she pulled a child away in time, her eyes blazing with fierce resolve. Daichi grabbed the thug's arm mid-motion, stopping him cold. With calm fury, he twisted it upward, restraining him. Marissa gasped as Daichi smiled, gently, apologizing for the fear his sudden action may have caused, yet never loosening his grip. Overwhelmed, Marissa teared up silently, behind her. The others stood firm, Daichi still holding the attacker in place. The thug cried out in pain as Daichi applied more pressure, threatening to snap the arm if needed. He coldly reflected that while this man preyed on children, he now begged like one. Daichi had no sympathy. The thugs lashed out verbally, accusing Daichi of assault. They threatened to call the guards, claiming innocence. Daichi stared in disbelief, questioning how these aggressors could claim the moral high ground. Fiona stepped forward with authority, declaring she saw everything. As a merchant guild official, she offered her testimony without hesitation. Voices from the crowd joined in. Several witnesses confirmed the thugs were the ones who initiated the attack against the nun. Furious, the lead thug swore revenge. He warned everyone to remember his face, promising retribution once the guards arrived. The thug pressed closer to Fiona, mocking her connection to the merchant guild and demanding her name with a sneer. Nearby, Daichi was warned that revealing his name might cause trouble when the guards arrived. He showed no concern. Without hesitation, Daichi broke the thug's arm, the sickening crack silencing the crowd. As the thug screamed, Daichi observed the shifting crowd and realized they had ties to the town's guard. The situation was more complicated. Daichi stepped forward, voice steady, daring them to believe they'd remain unharmed until the guards actually showed up. The thugs, confused by Daichi's calm threat, mocked him and questioned his sanity as he advanced with quiet intensity. Marissa stepped forward and pleaded with Daichi not to escalate further. She feared jeopardizing the orphanage. Daichi introduced himself calmly and suggested they wait for the guards. Marissa, still tense, agreed with visible unease. The children urged Daichi to listen to the nun. Fiona also encouraged him to pause, reminding him the thug's bluff about guard connections might be false. With a soft smile, Alicia reassured Daichi, telling him to leave the rest to her. Surrounded by a curious crowd, Daichi became the center of attention. The thugs mocked his silence, mistaking it for fear. Without emotion, Daichi pinched his nose and called out the source the thugs stank. Laughter erupted from the crowd. Daichi questioned whether the men ever bathed, prompting even bystanders to mock them. He mocked their false bravado, accusing them of using the guard's authority to threaten women and children. To him, they reeked of cowardice, the thug shouted angrily. But Daichi interrupted, drawing a blade and declaring the next move was his. A gang of furious men storms in, yelling as they threaten the people inside. Panic spreads among the women and children as the intruders close in. Daichi steps forward, silently positioning himself between the attackers and the orphanage. His focus sharpens as he prepares to act. In a flash, a machine appears from thin air. The enemies pause, startled by the sudden arrival of unfamiliar technology. Barrels fire, launching canisters that strike the thugs directly. They're knocked back with force, unable to react. Daichi stands calmly, danger now neutralized. The crowd watches in shock as Daichi confronts the remaining thugs. One of the girls calls out his name, while others react to the sudden clash unfolding before them. Daichi spins and lands a solid strike on one enemy, knocking him back with force. The attack is swift and clean, catching everyone off guard. Pain spreads through the thugs as they grab their heads, overwhelmed. Their leader shouts in frustration, realizing things aren't going their way. Daichi stands firm, facing the group. The attackers hesitate, injured and confused. As he quietly delivers his warning, one of the men clenches his fist in rage, unable to accept defeat. His frustration boiling over Daichi, blocks the thug's incoming punch and counters with a powerful strike of his own. His expression remains focused as his fist connects cleanly. The impact sends the attacker flying backward into the street. Others nearby flinch as their ally collapses beside them, groaning in pain. More enemies rush forward, shouting in anger. One of them draws a sword, escalating the threat with lethal intent. Daichi reacts instantly, landing a devastating punch to another man's stomach, forcing the weapon from his grip as he doubles over. The battlefield clears, bodies lie on the ground. Trembling, Daichi stands firm, showing no hesitation. One thug loses balance as Daichi swiftly steps forward. The ground beneath shifts, catching the man off guard as he stumbles. Daichi seizes the moment and delivers a powerful upward kick to the man's chest, lifting him off his feet with full force. The thug lands awkwardly, stunned, but still standing. For a brief second he freezes, trying to regain control. Without delay, Daichi finishes him with a clean blow. The man collapses among the other defeated attackers, motionless. Onlookers stare in awe. Some whisper in amazement as Daichi calmly turns away. The fight already decided, the townspeople gather, stunned by what they just witnessed. Whispers of awe ripple through the crowd as they try to make sense of Daichi's strength. Daichi turns to Alicia, who silently watches him. She gives a small nod, signaling her relief, now that the danger has passed. With a calm smile, Daichi thanks her. Alicia responds with trust in her eyes, saying she believed in him from the start. Suddenly, the crowd shifts. Guards push through, shouting for space as they move with urgency. From above, armored soldiers flood the street. Their arrival brings silence as the situation escalates once more. The guards observe the aftermath, surprised by how one person defeated the group so completely. One injured thug weakly points toward Daichi. Daichi stands still, his expression calm. Alicia watches silently from behind, uncertain of what will happen next. The soldiers, misunderstanding the situation, accuse Daichi of excessive violence. Their tone sharpens as they prepare to act. Before they advance, the nun steps forward, explaining that Daichi saved them. Her voice is shaky but firm. Overwhelmed with emotion, she trembles. Daichi looks at her gently, sensing her sincerity and relief. The children raise their voices, shouting in Daichi's defense. Their words echo through the street, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Others in the crowd join in, backing the children. They explain that the attackers acted first and Daichi was only defending them. A guard barks an order, telling everyone to stay out of it. The nun flinches as she's harshly scolded, her expression turning anxious. Daichi steps forward calmly and warns the guard not to threaten women or children. His voice is firm and unwavering. Among the soldiers, doubt rises. 2 guards in particular are eyed suspiciously by their peers, their actions now under scrutiny. One guard glares at Daichi, accusing him of siding with the wrong people. Daichi remains calm, unmoved by the provocation. Alicia steps between them, insisting there's a misunderstanding. She spreads her arms to shield Daichi from the growing tension. Marissa from the Merchant Guild speaks up, stating she witnessed everything. She explains Daichi's actions were purely in self-defense. The crowd begins to voice support for Daichi, but one guard yells for silence, trying to regain control of the situation. Suddenly, a high-ranking officer arrives. He orders the injured to be treated and calls for a magic healer. The officer urgently asks if anyone can use water magic to stabilize the wounded. A few onlookers hesitate, unsure of their abilities. The nun steps forward timidly. Though uncertain, she offers to help with minor healing until professional mages arrive. She explains her limits, but the officer nods in approval. Her willingness is enough, and he asks her to proceed. Introducing himself as Aaron, the officer takes charge. He approaches Daichi directly, signaling a shift in authority. Confused by the scene, Aaron requests a full explanation, finally ready to assess the situation for himself. Aaron stares at Daichi, shocked by the aftermath, and asks if he truly handled everything alone. Daichi remains silent, eyes steady. Marissa steps forward and reminds Daichi to show his guild identification. He pulls it from his pocket without hesitation. Aaron's expression changes as he reads the credentials. His confidence wavers, eyes wide in disbelief at what he's seeing. Daichi stands composed, waiting. The officer struggles to understand who he's really dealing with. The young man calmly presented a merchant guild permit, stunning the armored man before him. The tension in the air grew as the paper's significance became clear. Relieved recognition followed. The older man lightened up, realizing the youth wasn't a threat but a merchant. A cheerful atmosphere replaced the earlier tension. Their companion reacted with shock. She scolded the young man for producing the wrong guild permit at a critical moment, flustering him, trying to explain. He mentioned the Magician Guild's credibility. Still unconvinced, she pressed him with skepticism. Eventually, curiosity led her to examine the issue date. Her smirk faded into surprise. The boy calmly explained his sudden registration, revealing he had already been certified as a C rank. The surrounding crowd reacted with stunned disbelief. As murmurs spread among the gathered people, the armored man smiled slightly, amused by the unexpected revelation. He laughed boldly, declaring that deceiving a C-rank magician would indeed be unwise, showing respect toward the young man's unexpected status. Turning serious, the man warned the defeated thugs to be grateful, they were still alive. His tone firm and commanding. A soldier intervened, clarifying that the armored man had not acted out of aggression, but in justified defense. The armored man spoke firmly, distinguishing the young man from others. He acknowledged the situation wasn't a mere dispute. He pointed out how the adventurers had tried to overpower others, relying on strength and reputation alone, justifying his counterattack. Assessing both sides, he noted the aggressors clearly had the upper hand in numbers and confidence, expecting an easy victory watching from the side. The boy admired the man's fairness. It was rare to see someone with integrity among the guards. Later, surrounded by allies, he reflected that their actions may have seemed excessive, but under the circumstances, they were justified. The armored man requested the group accompany him to the station for further questioning. The young merchant agreed, showing no resistance. Worried, one companion whispered that things might turn bad at the station. Her dramatic reaction added tension. Suddenly, she announced that the boy had backing from both a powerful merchant guild president and a noble family. His startled expression said it all. The others were shocked. They hadn't realized such strong figures supported him. The boy advised caution when mentioning such affiliations. The armored man considered this seriously, asking what the consequences would be if such power were mishandled. The young man deflected attention by gesturing toward the unconscious troublemakers, hinting they might have useful answers. The armored man remarked on the boy's boldness. Calmly, the boy replied that, as long as one handled things correctly, there'd be no issue. To reinforce his position, the boy revealed a formal introduction letter bearing a seal, a reference from a powerful noble. He asked that, if they ever met again, they pass along his apologies for any trouble caused by his actions. The armored man, now smiling awkwardly, wondered just who this mysterious young merchant really was. The boy clarified that presenting the document wasn't meant as an excuse, but as a necessary formality. He explained his busy schedule, which included delivering goods and visiting several institutions before heading to the station. The armored man agreed to the terms. He assured the boy that the detained adventurers would be held until the investigation ended. The boy made one more request to delay any questioning of the orphanage and church staff until his side was resolved. Respecting the plea, the armored man nodded. Their cooperation had earned trust, and arrangements began swiftly. Although the situation was momentarily resolved, concerns remained about the thugs' deeper ties to the guards and criminal networks. Upon visiting the orphanage, the boy noticed a need to investigate further, sensing unresolved issues beneath the surface. Suddenly, a large tray of food tumbled forward, catching everyone's attention, a feast too large for one person. With a bright smile, he held up a rice ball and invited the children to help him finish the meal. Cheers erupted from the kids, thrilled by the unexpected invitation and excited to dig in alongside their generous guest. Laughter and joy filled the air as the children enjoyed their meal. The young merchant stood at the center, happily sharing food with them. Later, he was shown a recommended property, a stone-built structure tucked among sturdier buildings in the area. Impressed by its solid construction, he listened as his companion explained the previous owner was known for being rather eccentric. Reassured that the building was reliable, he asked about someone missing from the group, learning they had left for another errand. Looking over the detailed floor plan, he quietly evaluated the space. Despite some oddities, the house seemed like a perfect fit. Curious about the home's short occupancy, the boy asked what became of the previous owner. The realtor quickly retrieved the records. They revealed he was a noble's fifth son, now a university researcher and professor in the capital's academic circles. Impressed, the boy noted the solid craftsmanship of the house, built with top-grade materials by skilled hands. Nearby he observed a well-built structure next door, and his companion confirmed it was just as sturdy. She added that the neighbor was a top-ranked magic tool craftsman. The boy found that surprisingly intriguing. As they walked between buildings, the boy expressed a strong interest in magical tools, piquing the realtor's curiosity. He reflected on his unique skill to summon modern goods, realizing a partnership with a local magic tool craftsman could unlock vast potential. She reminded him that Arigia also aspired to become a magic tool artisan, a detail he'd nearly forgotten but planned to revisit. Inside the spacious interior, she explained the store's layout was ideal for both pharmacy and general goods, suiting his ambitions well. Eventually, they reached the workshop. As he entered, he noted how dark it was and flicked on a flashlight to explore further. Suddenly, the boy pushed the door open, letting light flood into the dim workshop. His companion followed, startled but curious. They discussed potential merchandise for the shop, focusing on items with low visibility in the capital. Lighting tools became the first topic. He asked if the guild could handle renovations. She confirmed it with confidence, then led him to the storage area. Though the boy remarked the space was narrow, she assured him it was more than enough for store operations. She playfully suggested converting the unused workshop into extra storage, striking a triumphant pose while he looked on, mildly exasperated. The boy explained he originally planned to turn the workshop into the main store, adapting the layout to his needs. Surprising his companion, he revealed that thanks to his item box, there was no need for a large warehouse at all. They then proceeded upstairs, ready to inspect the second floor of the building. As they stepped into a spacious room, she pointed out various features with professional confidence. Finally, she led him to the balcony, proudly showing off the view, and his impressed reaction said it all. While standing on the balcony, the boy spotted a familiar girl across the way, both recognizing each other immediately. As they observed each other, an elderly woman appeared beside the girl, also noticing the boy for the first time. The woman identified him as the individual planning to purchase the neighboring property and confirmed her suspicions. The boy, slightly hesitant, acknowledged the situation while the woman inquired about his final decision on the purchase. He confirmed the transaction and informed them of upcoming renovations, politely signaling the start of their new relationship as neighbors. The girl smiled brightly, accepting the situation with joy. She welcomed the new neighbor, ready to begin a shared life. A cheerful beast-eared girl presented several documents, pointing out where the forms needed to be signed. The boy received the stack, pen in hand, sighing at the volume. Even in another world, paperwork was unavoidable. After confirming his signatures, the girl neatly aligned the papers. She confirmed his eligibility to visit the orphanage and church next. However, she suggested visiting the guard's office first. She offered to accompany him, ensuring all steps were handled properly. Though hesitant, the boy accepted. He acknowledged her efforts, but she insisted firmly he wasn't going alone. The girl tried to justify her presence during the earlier incident, insisting she played a role in verifying the boy's identity. Suddenly overwhelmed, she became dizzy, suspecting a deeper motive behind only the boy being summoned for questioning. The boy accepted her explanation and agreed to let her accompany him again, but added one condition. He wanted permission from the guild before heading to the guards, ensuring the guild tracked their movements for safety. She agreed, but quickly changed direction, insisting they prioritize visiting the orphanage and church instead. Rather than rushing to the guard station, they agreed the church visit should come first. The boy assured her it wouldn't be a problem. As they exited, an older woman in sunglasses appeared unexpectedly and called out to the boy. With a smirk, the woman invited both of them to join her for tea, clearly in no hurry. The boy, confused but compliant, followed. The girl urged him to go along with the sudden detour, claiming it was all part of the plan. While walking, she whispered that the woman was Cecilia Heartland, arguably the most influential person in town. The older woman walked ahead with confidence, revealing herself to be one of the nation's top alchemists and a skilled magic tool artisan. The boy was stunned. The friendly shopkeeper next door turned out to be someone far more important than expected. Grateful for the guidance, he accepted her offer and followed her to a new destination, trailed by his feline companion. Soon, they arrived at a cozy tea room where a cheerful girl named Alicia warmly welcomed him by name. The elder watched silently, amused, deciding not to interfere in the affairs of the younger pair. At the tea table, the conversation shifted to housing. Alicia revealed she had already signed a new contract earlier that day. While sipping tea, the boy casually offered a suggestion, and his companion thanked him with a relaxed smile. Moments later, a large tray of baked sweets was revealed, freshly prepared and inviting. Guests were encouraged to eat freely, and the cheerful mood at the table grew as everyone reached for the treats. Taking a bite, the boy reflected that his broad interests happened to match the role perfectly, almost by design. The elder explained that the underground lab was designed with potential explosions in mind, making it incredibly sturdy and not something a merchant would usually require. Praising the hidden workshop, she revealed her admiration and her intent to someday replicate such a powerful facility. The boy, surprised, repeated the words aloud in disbelief, causing a stir among the group. Confused, he asked if such a place truly existed. The girl beside him strongly denied any knowledge of it. With confidence, the elder confirmed its existence, stating that the boy had unknowingly assisted with potion refinement there. A sudden realization hit the boy, causing him to freeze while the others looked on in concern. He quickly proposed rechecking the building plans. Excited, the girl agreed, thinking something might have been overlooked. Together, they examined the layout, debating the purpose of a large space beneath the kitchen floor. The elder pointed directly at a hidden staircase, revealing it led to the secret underground workshop. Suspicion grew had the guild failed to inspect the property properly before selling it. Their expressions tightened with doubt. The boy slumped over in disbelief, recalling that the original homeowner resided in the royal capital. The girl quickly confirmed that the responsible guild staff should still be in the local branch. With energy, they both shouted in agreement, those two officials should be held accountable. Sipping calmly, the elder revealed she had built the hidden staircase herself and offered to guide them personally. Surprised, the group asked if she really constructed it, to which she proudly admitted it was a product of her devotion. Grinning, the girl looked forward to seeing it, while the boy quietly tried to interrupt the rising excitement. Alicia nervously asked if the previous owner, a noble pharmacist, had used the hidden workshop for suspicious activities. The beast-eared girl cheerfully claimed the former owner was talented enough to be invited to the capital's top university. Recalling the eccentric nature of most alchemists, the boy imagined shady experiments and concluded the secret staircase made sense. After a moment of reflection, he wondered aloud if inspecting the underground lab had suddenly become the top priority. Without hesitation, his companion corrected him, reminding him that visiting the guard post should still come first. Alicia offered to accompany the group to the guard station, but the others politely declined, creating an awkward moment. The beast-eared girl suggested it was time to return to the guild and summon the responsible officials. While sipping tea, the boy confirmed he'd stay behind. She clarified that he'd remain seated while she handled the guild visit. Curious, she asked if he could join her afterward, as she wanted him to explain some details before visiting the guards. Playfully, she offered to help answer questions herself if he had anything pressing in mind. Within the town, cases of missing persons and child abductions had reportedly been increasing, particularly targeting orphans. The boy raised the issue, prompting the elder to ask what he planned to do with such troubling information. In response, he mentioned hearing about another disturbance involving adventurers, causing a scene near the market. Rumors suggested some adventurers were involved in illegal dealings, hiding children among crowds to smuggle them out, unnoticed. He speculated further if the adventurers were tied to the abductions, they might also be trafficking the kidnapped children. Rather than seeking justice, the elder wondered aloud if curiosity or personal reasons were driving the boy's concern. From the cat's perspective, the motive wasn't admirable, it was simply convenient and self-serving. Smiling, arms raised, he clarified that his goal was to make this town easier for both of them to live in. Unexpectedly, that honest reasoning earned quiet approval. Pragmatism, not idealism, felt more reliable. With a slight nod, the elder offered full cooperation, admitting that he too was acting on personal convenience. Alicia expressed her desire to make the town a better place, hoping it could become more livable for everyone staying there. The elder, seeing an opportunity, encouraged her to take advantage of the current situation while subtly hinting at a deeper motive. Shrugging off hesitation, the boy admitted he didn't mind that kind of thinking and asked to be taught more. As plans formed, the girl prepared to leave for the guild, only to be told that a courier could go instead. Before leaving, she reminded everyone that what was discussed must remain secret and not be shared elsewhere. A firm response left no doubt he agreed with the elder's conclusion and was ready to act. Over the past year, incidents involving abductions and missing children had sharply increased, especially among orphans. Additional reports revealed even children from regular families, and some adults had also vanished during that same period. The timing matched exactly with a rise in drifter adventurers entering the area, raising suspicions. Feet shifted under the table as someone quietly asked if this was the real issue behind everything, hinting at a deeper agenda. Speculation arose that most wandering adventurers might actually be connected to the Tarnate Kingdom. Confirmation followed without hesitation. Suspicion deepened. Military units from Tarnate were likely backing these adventurers from the shadows. When asked where such intel came from, the elder casually attributed it to reports from the Night Order. Doubt spread fast. Questions emerged about how knights had access to such sensitive foreign information. A past incident, involving pirates and the Night Order's secret intervention, was brought up as justification, tying recent movements to deeper investigations. A cloaked figure met with the old man, exchanging information for a dose of white powder the man had secretly manufactured. It was a risky transaction, but one done before. Suspicion grew when it was revealed the buyer wasn't ordinary. It was a commander from the Knight's Order, suggesting something deeper at play. Though the drug was banned, officials of that rank could obtain it with little resistance, making their involvement harder to expose. 5 men who took the drug were reduced to empty shells, completely broken after just one night. Processing the truth, the boy sat stunned, realizing the implications were far greater than he imagined. Disappearances had increased drastically within a year. Orphans were most affected, but even ordinary citizens were vanishing. Records showed a clear rise in such cases. Timing of these incidents matched when adventurers from the Tarnate Kingdom began arriving. Connections between them and the missing people grew stronger. Peace in the town was a lie. Everything pointed to a hidden turmoil threatening its core. Responsibility shifted toward those enabling the knights. Dangerous substances were being supplied, and action had to be taken. One mystery was solved. A small sense of relief followed. A concern lingered as he wondered if the house he'd bought was tied to the string of disappearances. Another voice joined in, admitting to similar worries, linking the disappearances to the absence of a shady pharmacist. Coincidence deepened. Timing matched when a neighboring house became vacant, and the incident surged. Tension filled the air as doubt crept in, prompting a forced smile to dismiss the ominous speculation. Suddenly, someone peeked through the curtain and revealed that visitors from the trade guild had just arrived. News of the official's arrival startled the group. Shock intensified upon learning he bore full responsibility for previous incidents. With newfound resolve, the group turned their attention to justice. No longer passive, they prepared to confront those responsible. Inside the tavern, a beastkin girl gathered everyone to begin introductions. The young merchant stood quietly, observing the people summoned for the meeting. 2 men stepped forward, Richard, a stern guild officer, and Edward, a nervous property manager. Both were tied to the estate in question. They explained they arrived after seeing Cecilia's name. Suspicion grew as they questioned the contents of the letter she had sent. The letter mentioned a hidden basement, a pattern of disappearances, and involvement from unknown parties linked to the Merchant Guild. It concluded with Cecilia's name, someone deeply connected to past alchemical and magical guild leadership. He pondered the letter's intent, wondering if it carried a deeper warning or perhaps a final message. The older woman dismissed assumptions, stating they needed to verify the truth themselves before drawing conclusions. The man suggested there might have been a misunderstanding regarding the property, though his doubt lingered. Recalling the construction process, the elder confirmed the existence of a hidden workshop and secret stairs beneath the house. She explained that at the neighbor's request, she built walls embedded with magical tools that couldn't be easily detected. A grim thought struck if the workshop hadn't been destroyed. Remnants of it might still exist beneath the structure. Despite the urgency, Edward claimed ignorance. Neither the hidden stairs nor the underground room appeared in the original blueprints. Casting suspicion, Richard pressed further, suggesting that the construction team must have known something. Although he admitted hearing rumors, Edward insisted nothing solid had ever surfaced. Even the workers had remained silent about Cecilia's ties. Convinced they needed proof, the group agreed to stop speculating and conduct a proper investigation at the site itself. The group entered the house and followed the elder toward the workshop located on the first floor. At the end of the hallway, she stopped and pointed at a specific spot on the wooden floor. Despite the guidance, nothing appeared unusual, just a plain surface stretching before them. The elder explained the hidden stairway wouldn't be so easily revealed. He began suspecting Cecilia's involvement once again. Without delay, the young man knelt and pressed his palm to the floor, channeling magic through it as instructed. A sudden vibration shook the floorboards, startling everyone as the hidden mechanism activated beneath their feet. Panels slid apart with a deep rumble, revealing a dark staircase stretching downward into the unknown. No one had expected such a response. Just a touch of magic had triggered the concealed passage to emerge. The group stared in awe, some shocked, others thrilled, while the elder confidently stepped forward, urging them to follow. Before descending, the boy called out, asking them to wait. Caution was necessary until they knew what awaited below. Amused by his caution, the elder teased him, calling him kind for worrying about everyone's safety in a stranger's home. Taking the lead, the boy instructed the others to follow carefully as he descended the hidden stairs. Down in the underground space, they began exploring the passage lit by flickering lantern light and silent anticipation. Holding up the lamp, he advanced slowly while the others remained close behind, wary but curious. At first glance, nothing seemed off until an unfamiliar wall caught the elder's attention. Something she didn't recognize being there before. They stopped in front of an unfamiliar wall. The elder denied building it, stirring confusion among the group. She clarified that her work involved only magical enhancements, not constructing barriers. The wall wasn't part of her original design. Outraged, the boy realized the added magic not only masked the wall but also silenced movement and sent classic concealment tactics. The girl burst out, furious that the elder had accepted such shady work without question. Shocked by the implications, pressing her hands to the surface, she focused. The elder asked her to identify the enchantment hidden within the wall. As she examined the wall, the girl noticed something odd. The craftsmanship felt sloppy and unrefined compared to her grandmother's work. The elder confirmed her suspicion, criticizing the poor execution of the magic and lamenting the wasted potential behind the technique. When asked what she would have done differently, the girl explained the ideal sequence: defensive layers, odor masking, and reinforcement spells. Realizing her earlier outburst was harsh, she offered a quiet apology, cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Looking back, the elder confirmed the wall hadn't existed during her last visit, strengthening the mystery around its sudden appearance. The elder pointed beyond the wall, recalling that a magically enhanced section should exist just behind it. Thinking aloud, the boy deduced that the visible structure might only be a reinforced cover, hiding the original wall a few meters further. With growing realization, he envisioned the space layout. It had to be a secret room hidden between walls. His conclusion drew knowing expressions from the group, their sarcastic stares confirming the obvious. Yes, it was clearly a hidden chamber. Upon touch, the poorly built wall cracked slightly, drawing criticism for its careless construction and weak craftsmanship. The wall rumbled as bricks shifted away, slowly revealing a shadowed corridor concealed behind the false structure. Everyone leaned in, eyes wide with disbelief, as the hidden space finally came into view. Inside lay rows of prison-like cells. An empty food bowl and cold iron bars hinted at past confinement. Suspicion deepened. The boy muttered a thought aloud. Someone had clearly used this space for twisted experimentation. Staring through the bars, he asked what the others thought. The only answer was a nervous guess. Maybe a storage room. After a moment of hesitation, she corrected herself. The area wasn't a storage room. It was unmistakably a prison. Panic spread across the officials' faces. They had no explanation for why such a facility existed beneath the property. Peering through the bars, the elder remained silent. Inside, a rat scurried past a moldy dish, evidence of recent use. Judging by the remains, they estimated the food wasn't older than 2 weeks. Something had been happening here very recently. Realizing it was beyond their ability to handle, the group agreed it was time to call the guards. After observing the prison, the elder decided guards weren't enough. The situation now required the authority of the night order. Nearby, Edward trembled uncontrollably, overwhelmed by fear and confusion, as the consequences of the discovery sank in. Without hesitation, The elder struck him with her cane and ordered him to notify the knights immediately. Leaning in close, she clarified it wasn't just a message. He had to bring them back in person. Motivated by panic, Edward bolted away at full speed. The group watched, unsure if he'd actually returned. The beastkin girl casually guessed the worst, while the older man stood frozen, unable to deny the possibility. Turning sharply, the elder warned him if things went south, he'd bear the full weight of responsibility alone. As tempers flared, she scolded her granddaughter for lacking seriousness. The boy, meanwhile, noted the elder's dark sense of humor. Realizing the situation had spiraled, they agreed to leave the investigation to the Knight Order. There was nothing more they could do here. With tension behind them, the boy smiled and suggested they return upstairs for tea before diving deeper into the mystery. Inside a cozy room, the young merchant revealed a covered table to his curious companions. Their eyes followed his every movement. An elder, impressed by the merchant's preparedness, acknowledged the presence of a complete tea set stored in the magical item box. Without delay, the merchant unveiled a tray of vibrant modern pastries, each one unfamiliar to this world. The guests stared in amazement. They leaned forward, drawn to the soft textures and sweet scent. One pointed at the fluffy white cream with fascination. A noblewoman observed with interest, noting the rarity of these desserts. Few in the kingdom had ever tasted such treats. Encouraged by the merchant, another guest hesitantly accepted the invitation to taste the unfamiliar dessert. She opened wide, unsure of what to expect. The first bite sent a shock through her senses. Her expression shifted from surprise to sheer delight, unable to hide the overwhelming flavor. Another girl followed, already familiar with the treat, yet still smiling brightly as she confirmed its deliciousness with a satisfied nod. The merchant watched their reactions with a relieved smile, clearly pleased by their enjoyment. An elder, flustered, recalled their 5 days of past rivalry, subtly masking his admiration behind stern words. The merchant questioned the elder's teasing, suggesting he was being treated like a soft-hearted fool smitten with cute girls. The elder smirked in agreement. Nearby, one girl silently observed, unsure how to react, her fork pausing midair as she listened. The merchant reflected seriously, realizing the impression he gave off. One girl clearly didn't match the imagined type. He quickly denied any favoritism, insisting his behavior wasn't motivated by affection, though his expression betrayed mild frustration. Another scene played out in his mind. Selling cakes in a crowded street would only end in chaos and trouble. To prove his point, the merchant boldly unveiled a new batch of colorful sweets. His determination was clear. He wouldn't hold back anymore. As the girls quietly resumed eating, he noticed the atmosphere shift. One remained reserved while the other happily devoured her dessert. With a confident smile, he praised Arya's charm without hesitation. The unexpected compliment caught her off guard, eyes wide with surprise. Her face turned red as she looked down, embarrassed. Meanwhile, the others continued enjoying the food, unaware of the tension. Requests quickly followed. One wanted the white pastry next, another the yellow. The table once again buzzed with sweet anticipation. The merchant warned the elder about consuming too much sugar, but the elder laughed it off, confident he could craft medicine if needed. Around the table, the merchant's concern grew, but the elder teased that the merchant cared more for Arya's feelings than his own health. Despite having cried earlier, the girl now seemed carefree. The merchant sighed, recognizing how easily responsibility shifted once trust was formed. Arya calmly drank her tea, reflecting on a missed opportunity. The group's presence softened her disappointment about losing the property deal. The elder accepted the outcome with surprising warmth. The moment ended with laughter. Tea. The merchant stared in disbelief, shocked that everyone had forgotten the earlier chaos. The empty bowl only deepened his confusion. Outside, a sudden announcement echoed the knights had arrived. Arya paused mid-sip, glancing toward the street as footsteps approached quickly. The elder frowned, frustrated by the timing. The girl still had cake in her mouth, unwilling to be rushed. Rising from the table, the merchant and the butler prepared to greet the arriving knights. Their expressions turned serious together. They stepped forward, waiting by the entrance as heavy armor drew closer. The atmosphere shifted from lighthearted to tense, introduced with formality and grace. The man revealed himself as Henry Bradley, a sub-commander under Commander Hazel. His presence carried weight. Recognition followed, despite humble origins. Cecily's talents in blacksmithing and magical equipment earned her a noble title in a single generation. Warmly greeted, Henry received reassurance from the elder, who expressed relief over Hazel's connection. At once they moved to proceed together. Heavy boots echoed through stone corridors as the group advanced. A low thud ahead signaled a hidden mechanism activating beyond the wall. In a shadowed alley, cloaked figures stood waiting. Nearby, a broken crate and glowing lantern hinted at quiet, deliberate preparation. While the knight casually excused his delay, the group stood unimpressed. Their blank stares made it clear his excuse wasn't convincing. Raising a point, the merchant reminded them of their current investigation. Ignoring an assigned task now would make things worse. Suggestions followed swiftly. Writing an explanation under Commander Bradley's name could help justify their presence. Supportive cheers confirmed the idea was solid. From a distance, Cecily gave her approval. Her voice carried enough weight to settle the matter, drawing admiration from her companions. With relief, the merchant realized she finally understood the importance of priorities. Still, Melissa remained lost in her own carefree thoughts. Melissa brushed off concerns, casually reminding everyone she was still new to the assignment. 2 weeks hadn't been enough to master everything. Despite her excuse, she seemed suspiciously informed, commenting on night affairs like an outsider, pretending to be unaware. She suddenly questioned if Asakura had taken a liking to Fiona. The bold remark threw him into a panic. Teasing continued. Remarks about young men falling in love at first sight flew around while Arya stared in silence, expression unreadable. Coughing aside, Asakura denied any flirtation. Instead, he shifted focus to rising local threats and the alarming disappearance of nearby residents. Asakura revealed the most troubling detail: most of the victims were orphans. The group's expressions darkened as the weight of his words sank in. He explained that visiting both the orphanage and church headquarters was simply to gather information, nothing more. The elder smirked, suggesting that Asakura's deeper motives might involve impressing Fiona. Though partially true, Asakura called it convenient justification. Arya gently scolded him for acting on his own again. Despite her soft smile, her words carried honest frustration. Melissa interrupted, suggesting Fiona might not be the right person to ask, next an implication that left Asakura confused. The elder recalled how disappearances among orphanage children had increased dramatically within the past year. Even before that, signs had already begun surfacing. Melissa interjected, asserting that speaking to someone more experienced than Fiona would yield better answers. Her tone left no room for argument. Surprised, Asakura questioned the idea. He had believed Fiona was a lifelong resident, not someone who'd left the town years earlier. With exaggerated flair, he accepted the misdirection and jokingly turned his attention to finding an older sister figure to question instead. Unbeknownst to him, Bradley had been listening. With a calm smile, he stepped in, claiming to have overheard the entire exchange. With the official request now written, Asakura felt confident. Convincing a guard to accompany him seemed much more likely. Laughter eased the mood. Bradley's earlier eavesdropping had only been out of curiosity, not suspicion. Presented with the offer, Asakura eagerly requested that Bradley join him in questioning the guards. The knight agreed without hesitation, smiling gently. Bradley even volunteered to accompany him to the orphanage and church the next day as well. Caught off guard, Asakura accepted the offer. What was meant to be a simple escort had turned into something far beyond expectation. Teaming up with a charming knight wasn't exactly Asakura's idea of a reward. His over-top reaction painted the moment with comedic dread. Meanwhile, Bradley offered sincere thanks for their cooperation, keeping the atmosphere light and diplomatic. After some delay, he returned with important news. During the search, something previously believed to be missing had surfaced unexpectedly. Behind the storeroom on the first floor, a hidden door was discovered. It connected straight to a concealed underground passage. The 2 men assigned to patrol the area had missed the entrance entirely, an oversight that now raised serious concern. Bradley questioned Cecily about any suspicious behavior from nearby residents. She responded vaguely, promising to speak up if anything came to mind. Responsibility for the house was confirmed to belong to Asakura, though control would now temporarily shift under night supervision due to the investigation. Curious about the time frame, Asakura asked how long he would be displaced. With uncertainty below, he couldn't stay comfortably. Concern grew. If sinister activities had taken place underneath, living there again might feel impossible, even with answers. Before panic settled in, another official promised swift relocation. A new property would be arranged, fully covered by the guild. Asakura asked if he could choose the inn himself, but the guild had already taken care of the arrangements on his behalf. Relieved, he realized the guild would ensure he stayed in the best place available. The elder confirmed it would be well suited. Though the official was hesitant, he reluctantly agreed to prepare the finest room as promised. In exchange, the elder requested dinner, once lodging was secured. Asakura accepted, already sensing the ulterior motive. Unfortunately, their earlier plans were derailed. Alicia had already stepped in, blocking their intended arrangements. Tears welled in Arya's eyes as she quietly responded. Her words struck Asakura, who could only watch her in silence. Trying to shift focus, he suggested speaking with Cecily about the house's upgrades. The elder misunderstood, hinting at cohabitation. Asakura clarified, explaining his current lodging had strict dining reservations. Melissa caught on, surprised by the complexity. A whisper confirmed the truth. Asakura was staying at Comlef, the most luxurious inn in town. Few accommodations ranked higher. Realizing the value of the arrangement, he considered extending his stay. Melissa agreed, hinting it would be wise to remain. Edward bolted off at top speed after receiving urgent instructions to secure a private dinner reservation. His superior, visibly agitated, made it clear failure wasn't an option. With confidence, the merchant declared that all expenses for the current luxury stay would be covered by the guild, including previous costs. Responsibility shifted to Melissa, now appointed as the new liaison. She stood beside the guest, a forced smile hiding her nerves. Startled by the sudden task, she voiced concern. Still, her superior reassured her, praising her potential. Instead of backing down, she demanded a promotion once the task was complete. An agreement was struck between the older man and the cat-eared girl. She demanded a formal document to secure her promotion if the task succeeded. She yelled for the letter to be written immediately, waving it frantically once it was prepared. Up on the terrace, Asakura gazed across the city, lost in thought. The old man beside him warned him about the sly woman. A noble-looking knight suddenly appeared behind Asakura, startling him with a sly smile. Talk shifted to corruption among knights. Disgust filled Asakura's face as reality set in. Excited and ready, the cat girl cheers loudly. Her enthusiasm spreads quickly as the girl beside her jumps in, eager to join. Instructions are given calmly, urging the group forward. One participant eyes the speaker warily, unimpressed by the confident attitude. A fortified structure loomed as the group stepped inside for an official meeting. Plush furniture, a crest, marked table, and guarded expressions set the tone. Silence filled the room, eyes locked as the seated man observed their faces, fingers steepled in deep suspicion. Curiosity sparked while glancing at the surroundings. Refined, polished, yet strangely sterile in atmosphere. Breaking the quiet, the man clarified this wasn't an interrogation room. According to him, it served as a reception chamber. Brows furrowed. Doubt surfaced instantly, but feigned innocence met with a stern command to stop pretending. A sealed letter floated into memory as Captain Guise mentioned a previous encounter involving a formal introduction. Daichi responded with a cheerful expression, clarifying the letter's purpose had been nothing more than a formality. Two guards entered the discussion, reminding everyone they had once attempted to arrest Daichi without proper cause. Guise narrowed his eyes, explaining those men acted on impulse, without considering the consequences of their actions. Shifting blame, Guise insisted those guards weren't his subordinates. According to him, they had only coincidentally moved together that day. Shocked by the reasoning for his prior arrest, Daichi questioned the vague accusations thrown at him. His companions instantly voiced their protest. Outstretched hands offered a calm explanation, suggesting that stepping forward earlier had helped guarantee Daichi's personal safety. Mia and Roa stood nearby while Guise admitted he had expected gratitude, noting the preparations Daichi had brought, with a smirk. Daichi brushed it off as coincidence, making light of the assumption that he owed anything in return. Standing gracefully, Mia responded politely, identifying herself as a student under Heartland and Daichi's follower in training. Daichi brought the meeting to a close, politely thanking Eren for the discussion, as Guise offered a calm nod in return. As the group turned to leave, Guise mumbled an apology under his breath. Watching them exit through the tall wooden doors, whispers filled the air. Doubts lingered about whether the reception room had been meant for diplomacy or quiet intimidation. Sweat lined Guise's brow as he expressed regret, hoping worst-case scenarios wouldn't come to pass if tensions rose again. Suddenly, the door burst open. A loud shout filled the chamber as a furious officer barged in, demanding answers from Eren. Storming into the room, Captain Boyd furiously slammed his foot, questioning why a supposed criminal had been treated so lightly. Without hesitation, he pointed at Daichi, accusing him of mocking the guards and promising to make him regret it. Boyd turned sharply toward another soldier, ready to lash out when his authority was indirectly challenged by a calm rebuttal. A sudden strike launched Boyd backward. Caught off guard, he crashed violently across the floor, stunned and silenced. Flailing on his back, he shouted threats about bringing Daichi to the Prime Minister. Everyone else sat stunned, unsure how to react. With composure, a soldier clarified that Daichi's group were not criminals, citing a report that cleared them of wrongdoing. Tension rose again as Guise pressed for answers, questioning the inconsistency in documentation, suspecting something had been bypassed. Boyd reflected briefly. then acknowledged the possibility that the patrol leader may have overstepped boundaries during the incident. Another voice interjected, accusing Boyd of hypocrisy of ignoring the actual criminal and failing to care for the wounded. A sharp glare followed. Boyd questioned if leniency toward a suspect who later reappeared wouldn't look suspicious to others. Tension returned when one official asked how Boyd wished to proceed. Suggestions to detain someone escalated the pressure. Guys remained calm, stating that permission for this room had been granted by the commander. Any interrogation could happen right there. Reluctantly, Boyd accepted the explanation, unable to contest the authority backing Gaze's claim. Watching silently, Daichi began piecing things together. Patterns and motives slowly surfaced as the room's dynamics shifted. Whispers confirmed a hidden truth. Boyd wasn't malicious, just incompetent. Others had simply exploited that weakness to their advantage. Boyd's subordinates began sweating as they realized the situation had grown beyond what they had expected or planned for. On the side, Daichi watched calmly, intrigued by the way the exchange was unfolding before him. With a pointed gesture, Gaze challenged Boyd to explain the exact charges that justified the attempted arrest. Boyd stumbled. The room's attention shifted to him as others pressed to hear the details behind his accusation. He finally cited a prior report, claiming Daichi used violence against defenseless adventurers during a dispute on the street. Boyd doubled down, citing testimony from Stone and Lever as confirmation that the report's claims were valid. Gaze calmly countered, noting Boyd's lack of judgment and stating that he himself had handled the investigation directly. With confidence, Gaze produced a new report, his own, documenting the incident with clearer, first-hand detail. He identified Daichi as the victim, with Arya and Melissa listed as eyewitnesses who had corroborated everything in that very room. Boyd's expression froze. Shock took over as the word victim echoed in his mind, unraveling his earlier accusations. Gaze confirmed that Daichi was the victim, while the true aggressors were 5 adventurers now under scrutiny. Details from the official report clarified that the incident occurred on the open market street, involving registered guild members. Further testimony revealed the adventurers had harassed both an orphanage, Runstall, and its attendant, escalating to criminal threats. Multiple bystanders also filed complaints, adding to the long list of offenses committed by the accused group that day. In the end, it was Daichi's defensive actions during his shopping that had halted the situation before it worsened. Conflicted, Boyd struggled to accept that Daichi's retaliation had overpowered 5 trained adventurers during the incident. Gaze corrected him, stating that it wasn't accidental. All 5 had initiated the violence, backed by eyewitnesses. Boyd slammed his fist down, insisting the accused were B and C rank adventurers, 2 of whom were mages. In response, Daichi casually revealed his own magical tool, implying he had abilities of his own, despite appearances. Even after learning Daichi was a mage, Boyd couldn't accept the outcome, frustrated that it still made logical sense. Melissa raised her hand to speak, receiving a calm gesture from Gaze allowing her to continue. Without hesitation, she declared that Daichi's magic capability likely ranked at a level, shocking everyone in the room. When challenged, she mentioned the guild's a rank examiner, known as one of the town's most reliable magic testers. With confidence, she revealed that Daichi had completely overpowered that examiner during the test. Daichi confirmed it himself, explaining that he was registered that very day after defeating Ariane, the respected examiner. Daichi raised his hand gently toward Arya, cautioning her to stay calm as she vividly imagined an escalating brawl. Silence gripped the room. Boyd, overwhelmed, tried to maintain composure, but sweat betrayed his growing uncertainty. Gaze calmly placed a thick stack of testimonies on the table, revealing they had ample witness support. Snapping toward his subordinates, Boyd demanded an explanation, fury now turning to desperation. They lowered their heads in defeat, admitting they struck first and failed to cause harm, even while outnumbering their target. Lever admitted they had trusted the wounded adventurer's claim too easily, despite more compelling testimonies still remaining. Gaze pointed out they rushed in without confirming the situation, siding immediately with the adventurers over verifying facts. A second soldier protested, insisting they only attempted a temporary detainment to prevent Daichi from escaping. Amid the chaos, reviewing the report, Gaze acknowledged their reasoning, but his expression hardened as he prepared to challenge their true intent. He reminded them sharply he had been present. Their actions looked far too biased, focused only on aiding their allies. The 2 soldiers lowered their heads, unable to answer Gaze's pressing question about their flawed judgment. Pressed further, one admitted they had been taking a late lunch at the market during the incident. As Daichi recalled, one of the adventurers had spoken of selling off orphans, shocking the nearby guards. Suspicion mounted. Melissa questioned if the soldiers might be tied to the town's ongoing abduction cases. Panic surged. One guard cried out in denial, visibly trembling as he insisted, He knew nothing about kidnappings. Tension exploded as Boyd suddenly charged and threw a punch, shouting in frustration toward the group. Guards quickly restrained him. Guys warned the soldiers to prepare themselves for questioning, noting their actions had consequences. From the side, a composed figure stepped forward, revealing a chain insignia and requesting to join the interrogation. Recognition dawned he was from the Knight Order. Guys nodded but clarified that the lead would remain with him. Calmly, the Knight announced the Order would take custody of the accused tomorrow for further investigation on the kidnappings. Captain Guise is startled by the revelation that all guard reports must be compiled by morning. Frustration builds in the room. Reed, a knight from the Royal Order, permits the release of some individuals, while Daichi and Luna remain behind for questioning. Daichi calmly inquires about the previously detained adventurers, raising suspicion as the guards exchange uneasy glances. Sergeant Baldur recalls something alarming. The atmosphere tightens as everyone realizes what might have happened. Baldur admits the adventurers were released. Guise snaps, ordering immediate warrants. Chaos erupts as they scramble to regain control. The castle bustled with urgency as guards shouted across the walls. A tense atmosphere gripped the stronghold. Outside the walls, Daichi stretched his arms, clearly exhausted. Rina and Melissa stood beside him, commenting on the situation's resolution and how things could have worsened. Rina announced she would return to the guild to file a report, leaving the other two with a curious look. Daichi smiled and invited Melissa to a hotel dinner. Rina silently observed their chemistry with mild exasperation. Daichi froze in place as Karina suddenly rushed at him, her presence sharp and overwhelming. He reacted too slowly. Each swing from Karina sent shocks through his arms, forcing him back with every clash. A spinning kick landed squarely on his side, knocking him into the base of a wooden training post. Karina didn't pause, sitting defeated. Daichi listened as Karina casually pointed out his lack of sword talent, contrasting it with his unique skill set. Frustrated, Daichi slammed the ground. Determined not to be underestimated, he vowed to one day surpass Karina's expectations. Daichi attempted to teach a move, demonstrating it on a stunned volunteer while Karina watched with suspicion. Another teammate tried calming the subject, but Daichi's chaotic method failed to ease tension. Even the cat stared in disbelief. The next day, Daichi challenged Karina to a baseball-style accuracy match, declaring victory conditions with exaggerated confidence. Shouting their terms, both charged into the game. Daichi gloated early, convinced he had the upper hand. Karina calmly struck her target dead. Her win was decisive, leaving Daichi stunned and speechless, as stats confirmed her overwhelming skill. Daichi regretted not checking Karina's stats beforehand. Her precise throw left him defeated and flustered. The next day, he challenged her to a new competition shogi. Confident this would play to his strengths, he proudly presented the board. Explaining complex rules from his homeland, Daichi boasted about mastering strategic board games. Certain victory was assured. Both dressed in traditional attire, they faced off. Karina looked annoyed but accepted, unaware Daichi was hiding full confidence behind a smirk. Moments later, Karina declared victory. Daichi stared blankly at the board, speechless, realizing he had been defeated, yet again. Daichi sat stunned after his defeat in shogi, vowing to never lose again. Karina remained composed, already moving on. The next day, Daichi burst in with a new idea this time, a cooking contest. Fired up, he shouted the challenge with full enthusiasm. Confident in his knowledge of modern recipes, he swore victory through science-backed gourmet techniques. Karina, unimpressed, casually agreed. Daichi presented a sparkling seafood dish. The judges were instantly won over, praising its taste. His face lit up with hope. But Karina countered with a packed sandwich, bursting with flavor. One bite in, the judges were left speechless once more. Daichi watched in disbelief as the judges devoured Karina's sandwich, overwhelmed by its nostalgic flavor. Karina was declared the winner again. Daichi protested, calling her dish unfairly soul food, while she teased him about wasting time. Though others suggested he give up, Daichi refused. He proposed one final contest, his last chance to claim victory. They sat at a table, facing a plate of fluffy pancakes. The challenge: resist eating the sweets. The longest. Daichi outlasted Karina at last. He cried out in joy, savoring his first win. Karina, though defeated, smiled faintly at his determination. Bradley arrives with a smug smile, interrupting the tense moment. Daichi and his group react with confusion, as Bradley greets them like an old friend. Bradley casually announces they are headed to the church. Daichi looks annoyed, unsure when Bradley decided to join. Bradley deflects the reaction, pretending nothing is strange. Despite the confusion, he insists on coming along, overriding any protest. At the church entrance, Sister Fiona greets them. Her calm but questioning tone halts the group's advance. Bradley introduces himself formally. Fiona bows politely, recognizing him as a knight. Bradley offers thanks to Daichi for his cooperation the day before. His words sound polite, but Daichi silently questions the truth behind them. Fiona suggests postponing the church visit. Daichi hesitates, but Bradley responds swiftly, brushing aside the idea. Bradley confidently claims that his discussion with Daichi doesn't require the church's involvement. Fiona gives in, deferring to his lead. 2 new companions join the group. With introductions settled, the entire party prepares to depart together. While walking, Bradley whispers to Daichi, suggesting a private topic about the guard station. Daichi seems concerned by the subtle shift. Bradley requests that his status as a knight be kept secret during the church visit. Daichi and Fiona are puzzled but agree, trying to appear formal. Bradley extends a hand toward Fiona, with exaggerated politeness. She is caught off guard but plays along reluctantly. Bradley suddenly pulls Daichi aside. Daichi, irritated, questions why he's being dragged. Daichi confronts Bradley with suspicion, recalling an earlier incident involving 2 men and a captain named Boyd. Bradley admits the connection between those men and the adventurers involved, revealing ties that Daichi didn't expect. By accepting bribes, corrupt guards ignored the behavior of adventurers and offered them unchecked freedom. The practice appeared routine and unremarkable. Daichi questioned whether only 2 men were involved, prompting Bradley to reveal that over 10 individuals, including a squad leader, were implicated. Although the arrest count was high, Bradley's emotionless expression made the outcome feel strangely hollow to Daichi. Instead of the guards, it was the freed adventurers who held the real information. Bradley stated he had focused his efforts on them. Rather than just agreeing, Daichi proposed that Bradley take pride in exposing such hidden corruption and show it more clearly. Bradley jokingly asks if Daichi is pleased by his rise in status. Without hesitation, Daichi firmly denies any joy. The scale of the enemy's influence becomes clearer, as Bradley explains how difficult it is to buy off so many guards without a powerful backer. He speculates further, suggesting that an external force like the Tarlnot Kingdom's military might be involved. Even if adventurers know more than guards, Bradley believes there is a deeper network. He suspects a connection to the trafficking of orphans. While Bradley discusses future cooperation, Daichi bluntly asks when he will get his house back. An innkeeper reminds Daichi that the guild is covering expenses, easing his burden. Still, he admits wanting his home and store back soon. Bradley praises the house's value and location, noting it meets unique conditions and can't be easily replaced. Suddenly, Bradley mentions hearing something from Aaron. Daichi reacts with suspicion, unsure what was discussed. According to the guard, Aaron has helped them multiple times. Daichi brushes off the praise but listens carefully. Bradley reveals Aaron is a top-tier mage even by national standards, and possesses exceptional magic abilities. Daichi scratches his head and clarifies that overpowering his opponent was a misunderstanding, not an intentional feat. He explains that Aaron witnessed him break iron pillars with ease and, without further testing, deemed him fit for a C-rank mage. Bradley leans in, recounting how Aaron had never even heard rumors of someone destroying steel with a wooden blade. Although Bradley claims ignorance, he questions if Daichi might be closer to a rank than he admits. Daichi silently reflects on that possibility. With a calm expression, Daichi recalls his homeland, where he rarely left the house and had little to compare himself with. Daichi admits he doesn't know where his abilities truly rank, leaving his companions in quiet thought. Bradley insists Daichi should understand his strength better. He turns to Arya, seeking her agreement on the matter. Caught off guard, Arya nervously agrees, admitting she also has doubts about her own potential, and avoids judging others. Bradley teases her about the difficulty of the priestess test, but Daichi quickly redirects the conversation back to himself. Before more is said, one of the girls excitedly spots their destination in the distance. The church finally comes into view. The group arrives at the church courtyard. Fiona instructs them to greet the priest before visiting other orphanages. Daichi quietly comments on the building's size. Time passes, and Daichi appears exhausted. His face rests in his hand as he mutters about how mentally draining the formalities were. While eating, the group discusses the state of orphanages. Daichi expresses surprise at the harsh reality. The comparison between facilities is brought up. A narration explains that their city is backed by a powerful economic hub, receiving the second highest orphanage funding in the country. Despite the allocated funds, the children's clothes reveal poverty, standing out even when compared to ordinary townspeople. Daichi reflects on the orphanage conditions. While the food appears sufficient, the reality seems less comforting. Unlike the energetic children at Daisy House, others lack liveliness. Their disconnect from adults is immediately apparent. Even the staff mirror the same lifelessness. Daichi notices that despite their jobs, the employees show little presence or engagement. Bradley explains he once suspected the orphanage staff were cooperating with guards in covering disappearances, but now he doubts that theory. Daichi quietly processes the change in perspective, and others agree such negligence hardly points to organized wrongdoing. Daichi hesitates, sensing it is too early to reach any firm conclusion. Something still feels off. He clarifies to Arya that his doubts come from a lack of concrete evidence, not suspicion. The uniform presence of unmotivated staff and timid sisters at both orphanages strikes the group as unnatural. Churches are responsible for assigning personnel, and while numbers are limited, proper distribution should prevent such imbalance. Daichi considers the possibility that someone deliberately concentrated unfit staff, creating vulnerabilities. If so, a collaborator within the church may be involved. Marissa questions if the sisters from other orphanages were truly incompetent, or just following orders. Bradley adds that staff numbers were higher than expected, with daily presence noted an unusual setup for any region. He explains that while things seem balanced, leadership from Donnelly's side ensured adequate funding and church oversight, even if execution lacked passion. Daichi cautions himself not to judge too quickly, knowing emotions can cloud reason. He reviews the situation carefully while continuing his meal. As he eats, a disturbing pattern emerges. Missing persons are increasing, rumors spread, and the strange basement beneath his new home lingers in his mind. Daichi admits the situation remains unclear. He asks when the documents regarding the adventurers will be released. In front of a wall of wanted posters, Daichi considers capturing the criminals himself. Questioning the legality of such action, Bradley recommends registering with the guild. Daichi groans, annoyed by yet another guild-related matter. Daichi and his companions sit together in a cozy tavern, discussing joining the Adventurers Guild and their plans. A waitress named Shi arrives, announcing that they have registered with both merchant and mage guilds. Leon curiously asks why they would join adventurer guilds instead of focusing solely on commerce. Akira confidently explains how joining the guilds gives them a chance to navigate political power. Excitement fills the air as the group heads toward the guild headquarters, feeling the growing possibility of success. Akira and the others discuss the registration with the Adventurers Guild, their plan becoming clearer. Curiously, Leon wonders if there's any connection to past issues related to the guild. Daichi recalls the magical stone and materials sold at the store, realizing the potential problem. In response, Akira assures them that the guild's involvement doesn't cause any real issues. Daichi looks uneasy. Later, they receive instructions from the guild, with a dragon accepting the task and providing guidance. As they continue their journey, Daichi and Leon realize the value of magical stones for future guild missions. The group gathers around, discussing how selling magical materials directly to the Adventurers Guild is prohibited due to the guild's regulations. Akira questions the reason behind their desire to avoid taxes, but the others remain focused on the guild's purpose. After hearing the strict rules, Leon points out that adhering to guild regulations is necessary for their continued success. Excited, they reach the Adventurers Guild, impressed by its towering presence and the opportunity it offers. An old man, with a beard, enthusiastically recalls how the guild leader built a grand hall 10 years ago. Daichi is taken aback by the sheer size of the guild and the luxury it represents. Curious, he asks about the guild's rules, unaware of the unexpected situation unfolding inside. Akira notices a board filled with guild notices, signaling the increasing complexity of their mission. Daichi, now enthusiastic, remembers the skills he learned back in the lab, knowing they'll be useful here. Entering the Adventurers Guild, Daichi and Akira are greeted by the guild's eccentric leader, who shares his excitement. A sign is noticed by Akira, signaling the start of the guild's registration process, with a curious twist. The friendly receptionist welcomes them warmly, offering assistance with their guild registration, ready to guide them. In an unexpected moment, the receptionist realizes she made a mistake, apologizing for the confusion caused. Daichi, amused by the situation, wonders if the guild environment will always be this lively, thinking about what comes next. A guild member recognizes Daichi, recalling how he sold magical stones without permission, creating tension. Daichi calmly defends himself, explaining that they were merely following the guild's rules, despite conflict. At the guild desk, Daichi confirms his registration, wondering if this procedure will be simple. With a cheerful smile, Melissa requests the registration for 2, leaving Daichi slightly confused by the decision. As Melissa considers joining, Daichi and the others discuss whether Melissa should register now or wait. Daichi excitedly welcomes Melissa into their team, holding Nike, his cat, as they prepare for the next step. Melissa is delighted, asking if Daichi's cat is a magical creature, unsure of its true nature. The registration form is finally completed, but Daichi looks puzzled when asked about personal details. Upon reviewing their C-rank magic abilities, Daichi questions if basic spells truly qualify for such a rank. Melissa explains that C-rank magic can be impressive for someone with special abilities, revealing her own magical prowess. Melissa confirms her noble lineage, as Daichi excitedly introduces his cat companion. Daichi and Melissa are amazed by the prestigious title of Melissa's noble background, setting the tone. After some paperwork, Daichi questions the mistake in his registration, uncertain of the details. The receptionist hurries to fix the error, reassuring Daichi about the process for a successful registration. Melissa humorously points out that registering as a magician is rare, especially at C rank, implying their growing potential. Daichi and Melissa discuss the E-rank magician's registration requirements, aiming to improve their magical skills. Akira points out that even if one is an E-rank, joining the guild is a step toward success. Daichi is shown a pyramid ranking structure, illustrating how magicians are categorized by skill level in the guild. Wondering if there is a test for magicians, Daichi starts to feel the weight of the challenge ahead. Melissa laughs, mentioning her lack of concern for warrior tests, suggesting a more manageable route. Melissa cheerfully describes how she fought enemies in front lines, while trying to perfect her skills. Embarrassed, Melissa admits that Daichi was the one who took care of the fighting duties. As Daichi finishes the registration form, Melissa starts to imagine more battles ahead for both of them. Daichi wonders if the guild will conduct mock battles to test their fighting skills like they did for others. Melissa dismisses Daichi's concerns, suggesting mock battles will offer much more than mere practice with opposing teams. A guild official impatiently asks where to go next, eager to discuss the registration process. The receptionist responds, explaining that they are heading to the training grounds for a test. Daichi wonders if Melissa can handle the test as they prepare for a combat trial. The receptionist hurriedly confirms that Daichi and Melissa are selected for rank tests and need to act fast. With a confident smile, Daichi responds to the official, asking for a more flexible approach during the trial. Daichi laughs, as he confidently tells Melissa to take things lightly, sensing the challenge ahead. They are surprised to learn Melissa is somewhat anxious about the upcoming combat trial, unsure of what to expect. They arrive at the training grounds, where Daichi is ready for the test, but Melissa hesitates a bit. In their conversation, Daichi muses that he might be overthinking things, wondering about the guild's real challenges. Just as they prepare, a group of men appears, hinting at the trials to come. Daichi grows curious about their intentions. Daichi stood confused as 3 challengers faced him. The test was meant to be 2-on-1, and he was the lone participant. Nike protested the unfair setup, but Rody silenced her with a shout, dismissing any objections. Daichi's opponents taunted him, asking if he had any battle experience, clearly underestimating him from the start. He replied calmly, recalling only minor combat during pirate arrests and scuffles with street thugs, nothing resembling real warfare. One opponent sneered, accusing him of watching from the sidelines. Daichi stayed composed, letting their assumptions reveal their own ignorance. Daichi calmly questioned why Rody grew so furious over a simple merchant mistake. Nike stood silently as he downplayed the issue, calling out the overreaction. Rody's anger swelled, but his men stepped in, trying to defuse the tension. One suggested using Daichi against monsters instead. Without hesitation, Daichi mentioned defeating several king apes and other creatures while practicing magic in the forest. The claim stunned those around him. Laughter erupted from the doubters, dismissing his story as ridiculous. They quickly moved to attack, no longer interested in words. Rather than panic, Daichi plucked a slender branch from a nearby tree and observed it, preparing for what came next. Daichi activated body enhancement and magic reinforcement, splitting the thick tree trunk in one clean strike, using only a branch. While Nike watched in awe, he casually revealed that he had used a real knife during his actual fights. Shock spread among the observers. Nearby onlookers clarified his background. Daichi was recognized by the Magic Guild and had connections to high-ranking members. The once boastful opponents froze, their confidence drained as tension took over. With one of them collapsed and the rest wordless, Daichi glanced around and calmly asked if the mock battle was still going to proceed. With Rody unconscious and twitching on the ground, Nike called off the mock battle. Daichi was now officially recognized as qualified. Daichi Asakura watched a beaten man collapse in front of a merchant's building while townspeople hesitated. Guards dragged the victim aside, ignoring the growing tension. Beside him, older adventurers dismissed the scene with hardened expressions, treating the violence as routine. Indifference weighed heavier than the incident itself. Their leader folded his arms and justified the brutality as necessary discipline, recalling how their 4-Feyman party once learned harsh lessons through bloodshed. Before matters escalated further, a cheerful girl intervened, claiming preparations were complete and redirecting attention toward their assigned task. At that moment, Daichi stepped forward, rolling his sleeve with quiet resolve, ready to involve himself, despite the warning atmosphere. A noble girl gathered her courage, while small companions encouraged her from behind. She turned toward Daichi Asakura, seeking guidance about which spell to use. He allowed her to decide freely, observing her with quiet attention. Nervously, she revealed command over 4 elemental attributes: null magic, enhancement, and alchemy, exposing remarkable talent beyond ordinary adventurers. Veteran onlookers reacted with disbelief, recalling their own hardships and recognizing her rare potential. Resolutely, she activated her power, releasing a blinding surge that shook the surroundings and stunned everyone present. Daichi Asakura noticed a strange presence approaching as the air shifted above the courtyard. Energy gathered overhead, drawing everyone's attention upward. Suddenly, a blazing shape descended at tremendous speed, forcing the girl to flinch as pressure burst outward. Shockwaves scattered dust across the ground. From the fading light, a small winged creature emerged, flames flickering gently around its body, while it perched calmly on her hand. Radiance surrounded the bird as its form stabilized, revealing a rare spirit of blue flame, recognized only in advanced magic records. Witnesses stiffened, understanding the creature's rank and danger, while Daichi observed quietly, aware that such summoned power carried serious consequences. The girl steadied herself, and declared she would begin with wind magic. Power gathered around the training dummy as she thrust her hand forward decisively. A sharp gust shot across the courtyard and struck the target directly. Splinters and debris burst outward under the force. Moments later, confusion crossed her face as the spell spiraled beyond control. Instead of stopping, the wind intensified unpredictably. Daichi, Asakura, and the others watched in stunned silence, while pressure built dangerously fast. Unease spread among the party. When the gale finally settled, the dummy had been scorched into charcoal, leaving Daichi quietly noting the unexpected destructive result. Flames continued to swirl around the small blue bird as it chirped confidently, standing atop the scorched remains of the target. The girl proudly explained that the spirit would act on its own, eliminating threats before commands were even given. Daichi listened with a measured expression. While she reconsidered her approach, lingering magic suddenly lashed back and wrapped around her body, leaving her startled and apologetic. Daichi and the others stared blankly as part of the nearby structure collapsed from the uncontrolled aftermath. Dust rose into the sky. By evening, the damaged area stood silent under the fading light, and the group quietly withdrew, aware that the demonstration had gone far beyond expectations. The girl stared at the damaged roof, anxiety rising as she considered the cost of repairs caused by her uncontrolled magic. Daichi Asakura reassured her calmly, explaining that the guild had already accepted responsibility, and she need not burden herself with guilt. Elsewhere, written complaints and reports spread among townspeople, revealing long-standing corruption and daily misconduct within the Adventurers Guild. As rubble was cleared, whispers circulated that fear of the guild had silenced many, and that the girl's display exposed deeper problems. Meanwhile, an injured man lay awake, signaling that unresolved matters still remained despite the temporary calm. Daichi Asakura reviewed the guild's documents and felt relieved that compensation for the roof damage had been approved without dispute. Walking through town, he discussed rumors about a hidden location connected to 3 suspicious individuals who might know more than they appeared. From a rooftop vantage point, he decided to investigate the area directly, tempering expectations while preparing for unexpected resistance. Lowering his voice, Daichi revealed that the true objective involved the kingdom of Ternard and unusual movements near its borders. He concluded that merchants trading between nations could be exchanging more than goods, hinting at concealed information networks, stretching beyond the city. Daichi Asakura spoke calmly about the possibility of manipulating human perception, causing the others to stiffen at the seriousness in his eyes. The cat-eared girl tried to lighten the mood, yet concern remained as they walked across the rooftops overlooking the city. He then proposed assigning Marisa to gather intelligence, but resistance quickly surfaced from the group. Arguments followed, insisting that exchanging information with foreign merchants carried risks beyond simple trade dealings. Ultimately, Daichi decided that 2 of them would search for clues discreetly, advancing without revealing their true objective. With bright determination, the girl announced that their party application had been accepted, urging Daichi Asakura to continue striving together. Soon after, she revealed that the guild had assigned them a dangerous escort mission, forcing Daichi to reconsider the risks involved. Concerned for her safety, he suggested handling the task alone, but she firmly refused to be left behind. Meanwhile, their companion listened calmly, as Daichi proposed seeking permission before departing for the assignment. Later, in a quieter moment, both hesitated awkwardly, realizing that working as a pair carried new feelings neither fully understood. Narrow alleys and crumbling houses greeted Daichi Asakura and the girl as they stepped into the slum district, quietly taking in the strained atmosphere. Sudden cries from their small companions shattered the silence, drawing cautious stares from residents peering through broken windows. Attempting composure, the girl claimed she was mature enough for this visit, though a trace of nervousness lingered behind her smile. From a nearby doorway, an elderly woman issued a stern warning about responsibility if trouble arose, her gaze fixed sharply on Daichi. With calm assurance, he vowed to protect the girl, meeting her eyes confidently before leading her further into the district's depths. Weathered houses and cracked walls marked the edge of the slum as Daichi Asakura approached a quiet courtyard with measured steps. Inside, a long-haired man sat across from another figure at a small table, studying a board while observing the newcomers carefully. Producing wanted posters, Daichi explained that he was searching for several men connected to recent disturbances within the city. Leaning back, the long-haired man tested him with probing remarks, gauging whether Daichi truly understood the risks behind the investigation. After a pause, the man lifted his cup with a faint smile, signaling cautious interest in the proposal placed before him. Standing beside the table, Daichi Asakura questioned whether the wanted men had any connection to the long-haired informant before him. Instead of answering directly, the man warned that dangerous groups were beginning to move and suggested they leave while they still could. A sharp glare followed as he challenged Daichi's intentions, testing whether the young merchant meant to treat them as commodities. Calmly, Daichi clarified that he sought negotiation rather than purchase, offering fair compensation in exchange for reliable information. Amusement crossed the informant's face, acknowledging the bold proposal, while considering cooperation under mutually beneficial terms. Raising two fingers, Daichi Asakura outlined his conditions, emphasizing luck, sharp judgment, and practical expertise as essential traits for cooperation. Across the table, the long-haired informant studied him closely, questioning whether Daichi truly met the standards he confidently described. Without hesitation, Daichi identified the man as the first reliable ally he had encountered within the slum district. Laughter erupted as the informant reacted with surprise, amused by the bold assessment delivered without flattery or fear. After the laughter subsided, he acknowledged Daichi's resolve, while the young merchant quietly hinted that future upheaval in the slum might depend on their alliance. A bandaged man nearby angrily dismissed the proposal, insisting that reckless talk would only invite unnecessary trouble into the district. Rather than retreat, Daichi observed the gathering tension, noting how easily hostile forces could surround them within the cramped courtyard. The long-haired informant calmly assessed the situation, implying that facing such numbers required more than confidence and demanded hidden capability. With a relaxed smile, Daichi admitted he had already prepared measures to cooperate with thieves if circumstances required flexibility. Amused by the bold answer, the informant rose from his seat and suggested moving elsewhere, signaling that serious negotiations would continue in private. Escorted inside a guarded building, Daichi Asakura and the girl faced several watchful men while the long-haired informant stepped forward confidently. Seated, the atmosphere shifted as their host formally welcomed them into the inner circle of his organization. From the shadows, a stern man identified himself as Gilbert Graham, asserting his authority as leader, while his subordinates stood silently behind him. Tension tightened briefly, yet Daichi remained composed, agreeing to begin negotiations as both sides prepared to discuss terms face to face. Inside a quiet room, several people gather around a sofa where a young girl sits. Concern fills the air as everyone watches closely. Sitting beside her, the boy gently holds the girl's hand. A sense of reassurance spreads as she looks toward him. Soon after, the girl's mood brightens and her energy returns. Excitement replaces the earlier tension. Those nearby notice the sudden change and react with surprise. Later, the boy calmly enjoys a small meal. Meanwhile, the rugged man continues watching him with curiosity. At last, the man steps forward and formally introduces himself as the representative of a merchant family. Daichi stands beside a cheerful young girl who happily introduces herself. She explains that her name is Alicia Heartland and that she works as a skilled alchemist. Hearing the name Heartland immediately surprises the rugged merchant. The mention of a famous alchemist family catches his attention. Suspicion grows as the merchant questions the situation. The others discuss how unusual it is for the daughter of such a respected family to appear in this town. Alicia nervously explains that she left home and now travels alone. She reveals a small identification tag hanging from her neck as proof of her identity. The merchant asks Daichi to show the identification tag. Daichi hands it over, allowing the man to examine the proof closely, After a moment of silence, he appears satisfied with the proof. Daichi watches his reaction closely, waiting for confirmation. The tension in the room with the matter settled, Daichi immediately prepares to begin trading. The merchant agrees, recognizing Daichi's serious attitude. A long case is placed on the table in front of the merchant. Attention shifts toward the object as Daichi offers it for inspection. Opening the case reveals a polished knife with a unique design. The merchant studies the blade closely, noticing its unusual craftsmanship and sharp edge. Daichi explains that the knife comes from his homeland. Its curved shape and balanced design make it especially useful for handling meat and cooking tasks. Several wanted posters are placed on the table, showing the face of a suspicious man, far away. A large fortress stands strong as an important military base. The place connects to the Talnert army, suggesting that the situation might involve larger forces beyond the town. While pouring tea, the merchant explains that the man stayed in the town for 6 months. Daichi and Alicia listen closely while sitting nearby. They try to understand the man's identity and why a former soldier might secretly meet powerful figures. The merchant lowers his voice and admits that the matter is dangerous. He warns that even someone with his position could be in trouble if the truth spreads further. He listens carefully while the merchant speaks about the danger surrounding the situation. Alicia quietly expresses her support while sitting beside him. Meanwhile, the merchant continues speaking seriously, reminding them that the matter could cause serious trouble. After a pause, the merchant reveals an important name connected to the situation. The mention of the Giretti family immediately draws attention and raises tension in the room. Explains further that the Giretti family holds strong influence within the Talnert kingdom. Finally, the merchant mentions that 5 people are involved in the matter. Daichi listens closely, preparing to learn more about the former soldier connected to the case. The merchant leans forward and begins explaining more details about the suspects. Papers and cups remain scattered across the table while Daichi and Alicia listen from their seats. According to him, they came from Talnert and include several powerful individuals, including high-ranking mages. While thinking about the situation, Daichi reflects on his own abilities and experience. Confidence grows inside him as he considers how his knowledge might help handle the problem. The merchant thanks Daichi for cooperating but warns that the situation is extremely dangerous. Despite the warning, the merchant admits that success could bring great opportunity. Rising higher in the world of merchants often requires facing difficult and risky situations. He places a small object on the table while speaking about exchanging information in the future. Daichi listens with interest as the offer becomes clear. Daichi quickly accepts the proposal and expresses his willingness to work together. His confident attitude pleases the merchant. However, Daichi adds an important condition. In his homeland, he explains, products always have proper value. After the agreement, Alicia calmly drinks tea while listening to the conversation. She reminds them that the next question about trade should be discussed. The merchant nods and reveals the name of the trading company involved in the situation. He explains that it is known as the Goat Trading Company. Explains that the Goat Trading Company has recently reduced its business with the Talnert Kingdom. Sudden change in trade between the kingdoms seems suspicious, and he begins considering what reason could exist behind such a decision. Daichi responds that the company he mentioned earlier might already be investigating the unusual trade activities. Daichi continues explaining his thoughts. The rapid increase in trade during the past year could involve merchants secretly connected to the Goat Trading Company. Finally, Daichi concludes that the company may have appeared to help troubled merchants, while secretly placing its own influence inside the region's trade network. 2 years earlier, a man named Kyle was hired, and later connected to the growing problems between the trade groups. Wanted posters are shown again, displaying the faces of several criminals. The merchant explains that these people might appear in the town again. Later, Daichi and Alicia walk through the town streets together. Alicia looks around with excitement, enjoying her first time exploring the city, smiling softly. Alicia assures Daichi that she feels safe because he is with her. Her confidence shows the trust she has placed in him during their journey. As they continue walking, Alicia asks about their next destination. Daichi prepares to travel toward the Giretti territory while she energetically decides to follow him. While walking through the town, Alicia happily talks beside Daichi. She feels excited about the journey and asks about the Goat Trading Company. Suddenly, several rough men appear from a narrow alley and block their path. Alicia quickly notices the danger and warns Daichi. In a narrow street, Daichi and a young girl are stopped by several rough men. The group blocks their path and demands every coin they carry. Soon, the thugs step closer and continue mocking Daichi. His quiet attitude makes them suspicious, yet they still assume he cannot fight back. Carefully, Daichi steadies himself and focuses. His special ability activates, strengthening his body. Power flows through him while his eyes sharpen with determination. A symbol reveals the men belong to the dangerous Bream family, turning the encounter into a serious conflict. Daichi quietly studies the men standing in front of him, while the young girl looks up with concern. The group behind the thug leader slowly closes in, believing their numbers give them control. The thugs question Daichi and demand answers. Suspicion spreads among them as they stare at the calm young man. A brief silence follows as Daichi processes the situation and concludes something about the group. He decides to use the encounter to test his ability and steps forward with confidence. The girl watches nervously behind him, realizing escape is impossible in the narrow street. The thugs finally prepare to attack as the confrontation begins. The girl suddenly notices movement and warns Daichi that the attackers are rushing toward them. Weapons swing forward as the thugs charge with confidence. Before the men can strike properly, Daichi moves first. A fast and precise blow lands, sending one attacker flying backward. Another thug staggers from the impact while shock spreads across their faces. One remaining fighter steps forward and unleashes a powerful attack, believing his strike will end the fight. Debris bursts around Daichi as the heavy blow lands. Dust and broken fragments scatter across the ground, yet he remains standing without serious harm. Calmly brushing off the rubble, Daichi explains that he simply reinforced his body with magic. Remaining thugs hesitate as they face Daichi again. Shock spreads across their faces when they begin to suspect he might be a magician. Panic quickly takes over the group, injured and frightened. The men beg for mercy while stepping back from Daichi. Daichi watches them calmly and considers the situation. Taking lives is not something he wants to do, so he decides to give them a chance to correct their mistakes. The thugs immediately apologize and promise they will never attack people again. Their frightened faces show how serious the warning has become. Daichi then gives them a new condition. From now on they must protect the orphanage and work to repay the trouble they caused. Town guards are not far away, and causing more trouble would only bring them greater punishment. Instead of violence, he orders them to leave and stop harassing people. After settling the situation, Daichi turns his attention back to the girl. He decides to visit the orphanage and help them by bringing some supplies and support for their daily life. Meanwhile, the frightened thugs quickly run away from the area, eager to escape, before any guards appear. Watching them disappear, Daichi reflects on the strange events that brought him into this world. With the street finally quiet again, Daichi and the girl walk forward together, continuing their journey through the city. Daichi arrives at the orphanage with the young girl beside him. In the courtyard, a nun pauses her work and looks toward the visitors. The nun approaches and asks about the visitors. Daichi explains the situation, and the men who caused trouble earlier appear nearby, now behaving respectfully after their defeat. Soon Daichi explains that the orphanage walls and fences are damaged. The caretakers had hoped someone could help repair the place. The nun gratefully accepts the offer of assistance and welcomes the help. He later reflects that this small event became the reason he started supporting the orphanage. Daichi explains his plan to help repair the orphanage walls and fences. The nun initially doubts whether such help can truly be trusted. Soon after, the former troublemakers begin working. Under Daichi's direction, they start repairing the damaged wooden structures around the orphanage grounds. While the repairs continue, one of the children happily runs toward Daichi and thanks him for helping their home. Excitedly, the child shows him two small spinning toys. As the toys spin, Daichi notices something unusual. A faint magical reaction appears, suggesting that a hidden magical ability may have just awakened. Several children gather around a small wooden board holding two spinning toys. They talk about receiving magical training from the nun. Daichi focuses on the idea of magic awakening and wonders if training could help the children develop their potential. Nearby, the nun watches quietly with a calm expression, though a hidden concern rests behind her gentle smile. Daichi stood silently as unfamiliar energy pulsed around him. Confusion crossed his face while strange sounds echoed in his ears. The title of an invincible merchant lingered in his thoughts. Outside a stone building, he listened to two children speaking excitedly about magic tools. Their eagerness revealed how common abilities were here. Realization slowly settled within him. Facing the children, Daichi considered his recent awakening. Training after gaining power seemed necessary. Determination replaced his earlier hesitation. A nun approached, observing the group calmly. Her presence shifted the mood. Daichi sensed expectations forming around him. Hope spread among them as dreams of mastering magic took shape. Daichi quietly accepted the path ahead. Daichi confidently claimed that magic was unnecessary, insisting useful tools existed without relying on power. He believed this world lacked such items, yet remained certain modern goods could change that. The children stared at him blankly, unconvinced by his explanation. Doubt filled their expressions as they rejected his claim outright. Determined to prove himself, he argued that even without magic, devices could produce light. Skepticism only deepened around him as pressure mounted. Without hesitation, Daichi activated his skill and accessed his storage. Moments later, he began walking away while the children followed curiously. He revealed a flashlight and switched it on. Bright light stunned the children, forcing them to reconsider everything they believed. A child held the flashlight tightly as bright light poured out. Shock spread across his face while the beam illuminated his trembling hand. Excitement erupted among the children as they realized no magic had been used. Wonder replaced their disbelief, while they examined the shining device closely. The nun stepped forward and whispered to Daichi, urging him to calm the children. Concern appeared in her eyes as attention gathered around them. Carefully, he removed the battery and explained the stored energy inside. He described how that energy powered the light without magic. Listening closely, the nun studied the device in silence. Astonishment slowly surfaced as she understood its meaning. Inside the church, Daichi explained that he was a merchant from another world. He described selling rare and useful goods unfamiliar to this land. Sitting across from him, the nun listened carefully while he demonstrated the device again. Doubt lingered as she questioned whether magic was truly unnecessary. Lowering her gaze, she admitted that poor villagers could not afford magical tools. Hardship weighed heavily on her thoughts. Rising from his seat, Daichi declared his intention to build a business. He aimed to provide affordable products for everyone in the country, with calm determination. He insisted these goods should reach those without magic. Resolve strengthened his purpose. Daichi reflected on the inequality he sensed after meeting Karina and the others. He realized a clear divide existed between those blessed with magic and those without it. In his mind, images formed of wealth flowing easily toward magic users. Meanwhile, people without power struggled endlessly, unable to secure comfortable lives despite effort. Across the table, the nun questioned whether such change was truly possible. Concern shaped her expression as she considered the scale of his ambition. With steady eyes, Daichi admitted it would not happen immediately. Still, he expressed his wish to help even those lacking magical talent. Silence followed before the nun softly acknowledged his vision. Approval gradually replaced her doubt. Noticing her distant expression, Daichi asked what troubled her. The nun quietly replied that his words reminded her of her past. A young girl explained that Fiona had once been told she lacked magic. Those words had followed her for many years. Softly smiling, Fiona admitted her family had never been wealthy. Still, the time she shared with her parents had been filled with warmth. After her parents passed away, her grandfather raised her with care. Later, she found purpose serving at the church. Listening carefully, Daichi learned that some children awakened magic after 10 years of age. Others, like Fiona once believed, lived without it. Fiona closed her eyes gently, appearing almost hopeful, despite everything she had endured. A quiet strength rested beneath her calm expression. Outside, the children walked through the town while talk spread about sudden magical awakenings. Rumors hinted that even Karina had recently gained power. Daichi considered whether training might influence awakening. The idea sounded uncertain, yet he began thinking about its possibilities. Some believed rituals and strange practices could trigger magic. However, no clear proof confirmed those methods truly worked. Karina explained that poorer families often chased such hopes desperately. For them, gaining magic seemed like the fastest escape from hardship. Karina explained that Fiona had never attended a special training house. Instead, she encouraged children to practice awakening on their own. She added that Fiona's parents also lacked magic and lived without comfort. Their hardship had shaped Fiona's quiet resilience. Walking along the street, Daichi listened as Karina described their move to the commercial city. The decision had been driven by necessity. In that city, trade flourished and differences between magic users and others were less severe. Opportunities existed even for those without power. Eventually, Fiona's parents passed away soon after relocating. Hearing this, Daichi understood why she carried both sorrow and determination. After relocating, Fiona still failed to awaken any magic. Life in the commercial city remained difficult for her family. According to Karina, meeting her grandfather transformed Fiona's fate. Without his support, grief from losing her parents might have consumed her completely. With quiet admiration, the other girl explained that Fiona wanted to shield children from similar suffering. Gratitude for the kindness she received shaped that resolve. Concern surfaced on Daichi's face as he wondered why structured awakening training was absent. The lack of opportunity troubled him deeply. In response, Karina revealed that success was never guaranteed and resources were scarce. Financial limits prevented the orphanage from supporting every child equally. Inside the room, Daichi confirmed that Fiona had continued awakening training despite lacking results. The realization deepened his understanding of her quiet perseverance. Thoughtfully, he reflected that her true goal was protecting the children's futures. Their potential mattered more to her than personal success. Later, as they walked outside, Karina suggested discussing a way to support Fiona without causing distress. The matter required careful planning. Attention shifted to the issue of lighting tools and supply limits. Concerns arose about how many devices could realistically be provided. Calmly considering his unique skill, Daichi concluded that his connection to another world might remove such shortages. Confidence slowly formed as he envisioned expanding access beyond current constraints. Daichi considered the difficulty of distributing goods across the entire country. Expanding supply beyond the town would not be simple. Even with his ability, Karina observed that Fiona might hesitate to accept direct help. Even so, she believed Fiona secretly carried hope for broader change. Another girl suggested modifying the lighting tool by replacing its battery with stored magical energy. The proposal linked technology with this world's power system. Shock crossed Karina's face as she realized such adaptation might actually work. Daichi also paused, surprised by the possibility. Cautiously, they concluded that storing magic as energy could be feasible. However, limited research in that field made progress slow and uncertain. An elderly scholar was mentioned as someone capable of advancing the research. His past inventions suggested that converting magic into stored energy might truly be achievable. The group imagined cooperation with larger institutions if necessary. Universities and research centers could support development. Though such scale had not yet been reached, practical concerns soon followed, including the need for official approval. Permission from authorities might become essential depending on the project's growth. Confidence returned to Daichi as he declared his willingness to assist under Cecilia's guidance. If required, he would even travel to the capital to move the plan forward. With renewed energy, they agreed to consult the scholar after returning. Hope accompanied their steps as a clearer path began forming. Approaching the castle, Daichi wondered how much the brigade captain had already reported. The scale of the building reminded him that their plans might soon attract official attention. Curiosity spread among the girls as they discussed recent exchanges between noble families. Growing cooperation suggested that larger political movements were underway. Sudden suspicion crossed Karina's face when an influential family name was mentioned. The possibility of manipulation unsettled the group. Uncertainty lingered as Daichi considered how the Night Order might respond. Acting without preparation could create unnecessary conflict. Soon after, news arrived that trade with neighboring kingdoms had increased over the past year. Hearing this, Daichi realized their ambitions were becoming tied to wider national interests. Karina warned that if their plans advanced, the Merchant Guild would inevitably learn of them. Concealing information from experienced officials would be nearly impossible. Considering the risks, Daichi acknowledged that larger trading companies might intervene depending on negotiations with influential families. Expanding too quickly could invite pressure from powerful merchants. Thoughtfully, Karina evaluated whether involving trusted allies would create complications. Ensuring that no sensitive details leaked remained her priority. With quiet confidence, she assured him that she would never betray the trust built with Asura. Hearing that promise strengthened his resolve. Moments later, the door opened and a cloaked figure stepped inside. The meeting they anticipated had finally begun. Facing the nobleman, Daichi stepped forward confidently and proposed an exchange of information, signaling the beginning of serious negotiations.